Start your morning with Randy Carricker, Brooke Grimsley, and Carrie Davis on the Opening Drive. Presented by Sumner One.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday from the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley taking this day off. She's made her way to Tennessee for the weekend to see her parents, which is well-deserved. Carrie Davis is here, but Carrie's going to be thinking about a football game tonight throughout the course of the show.
Yeah, I will be. We have a big game tonight.
Fair enough.
I'm here. You know,
yeah, physically.
Mentally, I'm thinking of all the other things I got to take care of before 7 p.m.
Yeah, 7 o'clock at DeSmet, Hazelwood Central, and the Spartans in a playoff matchup, an epic playoff matchup between the Mecca and DeSmet. So that should be fun. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Matthew Rocchio is here, and we'll be here throughout the course of the day. We got a monster show coming up for you. We're going to talk to Jed Stugart, the head coach at Lindenwood, in just a few moments. Bradley Carnell getting ready for Game 2 against Sporting Kansas on Sunday afternoon in Kansas. And Bradley Carnell, St. Louis City SC's head coach, will join us coming up at 8 o'clock at 8:15. Blues Center Robert Thomas, Blues and Devils tonight over at Enterprise Center. And then Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports talking Mizzou, Georgia, tomorrow down in Georgia. Wow, that'll be something. 2-12 in the country.
I mean, for Mizzou fans, you know, calm your nerves. This is the thing. When you are a fanatic, you have to understand it's going to take a great game by Mizzou to win this game. Georgia is favored for a reason. Georgia is favored by 2 touchdowns, 15.5.
15.5, yeah.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
Don't get frustrated. If Mizzou takes care of their business, does everything right, if Georgia turns the ball over a time or two, you have a chance to be in this game. You have to capitalize when those mistakes are made by Georgia, though. You can't go down and get field goals. You got to score touchdowns.
And you can't turn the ball over.
You cannot turn the ball over.
And the Tigers have committed a lot of penalties this year.
Do not do that either.
No, you need to play really, really well. Then Joey Vitale will be with us at 9:15. Looking forward to that. Last night, Carrie won a bet. Steelers over the Titans 20-16 in the TOD Bowl. Can Matthew Rocchio please explain the TOD Bowl?
That's the opening drive.
The opening drive.
TOD, the opening drive. So therefore, TOD Bowl.
There we go. And so Brooke is going to have to wear some black and gold in here at some point next week.
At some point. Yeah, probably Monday when she gets back.
Yeah.
Just have it sitting on a chair.
That'll be good.
Maybe that week right before Mizzou and Tennessee play.
Nah.
Just you know, I'm just throwing out dates. I'm just throwing out dates.
Well, yeah.
So, early on in this one at Heinz Field, forevermore Heinz Field.
Yeah, Ackershire, Heinz Field.
Najee Harris of Kyler's film room put the ball in the end zone.
Through the middle, big hole to the end zone. Najee Harris for the touchdown.
Al Michaels with the call there on Amazon Prime. Nick Folk hit a field goal later in the quarter. It was 7-3 after one quarter. Then in the second, back came the Titans as Derrick Henry scored from 2 yards out to make it 10-7 in favor of Tennessee. Chris Boswell with a field goal before the quarter was out to tie it at 10-10. And then very late on the last play of the first half, Nick Folk with a field goal. 13-10 Tennessee at halftime. Boswell with another one, tying it at 13 early in the third quarter. And then Folk with another field goal. 16-13 Tennessee as we headed to the fourth. And with 4:02 left, it was Kenny Pickett delivering the winning throw.
Pickett to the end zone. Touchdown. And there it was. Deontay Johnson finally gets into the end zone.
Will Levis tried to finally.
First touchdown since 2021. He didn't. His last touchdown he caught was by Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh man,
it's been a while for him getting in the end zone, and so finally scored a touchdown. Whew, much needed.
Yeah, Will Levis with an interception very late, and 20-16 was the final. And the Steelers are 5-3. How are the Steelers 5-3?
Good coaching, and damn good defense. They are going to get after the quarterback. They're going to make plays, forcing the quarterback in the pocket. And that was one of the things going into this game. made me confident about the Steelers having an opportunity to win. You're playing a rookie quarterback against that defense. This defense at home, night game, forget about it. Versus a rookie quarterback in his second game ever. I just felt like and Will Levis played really well. He didn't throw that interception until late in the game, but I know that when you are the Pittsburgh defense and how they get after the quarterback, the coverages, the schemes, despite Minkah Fitzpatrick not playing, they were going to make it rough on him, and they did. And the thing, I will give Matt Canada credit. I will give that Steelers offense credit because the first drive of the game was probably the one Najee scored on, was probably the best offensive drive I have seen from them all season long. He came down from he was no longer in the press box this weekend. I mean, last night he was on the sideline on the field. And so that was just really the best offensive drive that I've seen. And they had some drive stall, but they looked better. They ran the ball better. And hopefully they can figure this out and keep it going in the right direction.
One of the things Mike Tomlin, Matthew, did you have something to add here? Mike Tomlin was asked about was the 10 penalties that his team committed.
First and foremost, from a penalty perspective, part of being a tough team to beat first is not kicking your own butt, man, and we kind of been doing that some, and we got to own that. And so we will. We'll review it. We'll learn from it. We'll look at it. We'll bring some officials into our practice setting in an effort to be cleaner because that was catastrophic, really, in a lot of instances to our efforts tonight.
Yeah.
And they'll get better because he's a great coach. Kerry, after they lost to Houston 30-6 to fall to 2-2, a lot of people were saying there's no way that Tomlin finishes over 500 this year because he's finished over 500 every year that he's been a coach in the NFL. Well, you look at where they are now, and here on November 2nd, they beat Tennessee. Their next game is against Green Bay, and the Packers are eminently beatable. Yep. They should win that game. Then they go to Cleveland, and we know what Pittsburgh does against Cleveland, right? And Cleveland's got a great defense this year. At Cincinnati, that'll be a snootful, but then you get Arizona, win. You get New England, win. You get the Colts, win. Then you have Cincinnati again before you have a tough stretch down the stretch. Yeah. But there's 4 wins there by the end of November for this team.
They are in a position to put themselves to have, the same type of success that they've had. Now, if their offense can match the effort of that defense, if they can all come together in all 3 phases, they can still be a really good team. That's going to be a tough game against the Bengals at Cincinnati, the way that Cincinnati has been playing the last few weeks. Then they got to go. Then they play Cincinnati again later in the year. They finish the season with Cincinnati, Seattle, and Baltimore, at Seattle. Those are going to be 3 tough games to end your season. But if you've won 4 or 5 or 5 of 6 at that point, you're putting yourself in a position where you're rolling and you've obviously figured some things out. So I don't know that they win the division because I still think Baltimore is the elite team, and I think Cincinnati Bengals are on the rise. But you could be looking at a situation where 3 of those teams make it to the playoffs this year.
And with 5 wins now, I'm just counting them up in my head, I think this is a 10 or 11 win team because Green Bay,
6.
Cleveland, Arizona, New England, Indy, I think that gets you to 10. It does get you to 10. And then Seattle would be a coin flip, a game at Seattle.
Right. Yep. You're putting yourself in a position, like I said, to make it to the playoffs. I don't know that you catch Baltimore because you've beaten Baltimore head-to-head, so you do have that over them. But I think Baltimore has figured some things out offensively, and they're rolling. And like I said, Cincinnati is on the hunt as well. So it's going to be a dogfight for that division down the stretch, but Pittsburgh last night was a huge win for them to put themselves in that position.
I don't know if sports bars open up on Sunday mornings at 8:30, but maybe the game of the year, Miami and Kansas City, NFL Network, 8:30 on Sunday morning. I wonder if the NFL had to do that one over again, if they would.
I think they would. But part of you should have known. I mean, first of all, it's the Tyreek Hill playing against his former team. I don't know that you wanted that at 8:30 in the morning anyways. But now the fact that both teams are 6-win teams and you're playing this game at 8:30, now people are going to get it. I told you, when I lived in L.A., one of the best things about being in L.A. was football at 10 o'clock. 10 a.m.
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
It was a beautiful thing.
6:30?
Yeah, 6:30 is going to be a little hard. It's a little different. So, I'm sure people will be tuned in because of the game and the matchup. I hope that the field is up to standards we've seen in some of these games across overseas, that the fields are kind of choppy and that has an
Germany,
impact on the game. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully it is everything is done well and we get the best football we can get.
The Blues have back-to-back games tonight against the Devils, 6 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. Then tomorrow night against the Canadians, a 5 o'clock pregame. This on the heels of the Blues' 4-game road trip in which they lost the finale 4-1 to the Colorado Avalanche. Coach Craig Berube on the fast lane yesterday, not too bothered by the way the Blues played.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our start was good. I mean, we got scored on just on a play there where Tuck's got caught a little bit flat-footed. But, I think, and then they got a power play goal. But I thought that, the first period getting out of there, I know it was 2-0, but, I thought that we battled. We had to kill off another penalty after we called the high sticking and went against us. But overall, I wasn't displeased with the first period or the second period. I thought the second period we got the momentum back in the game. We got a goal. I thought we had a lot of zone time, did some real good things. Just the third period, we 2 self-inflicted wounds. We shot ourselves in the foot. They capitalized on both of them. There were unnecessary goals, in my opinion, that we gave up.
So this goes back to just like we talked about with Mizzou against Georgia. The Blues, when they're playing a team like Colorado, they have to play a perfect game, and they didn't.
Yeah, there were a number of factors. Obviously, you're ending the road trip. I think they played really well in those first 2 periods. And I was talking to Jamie about it yesterday. One thing that I don't think we take into consideration, and I know fans will probably boo-hoo at this, when you're playing in Colorado, it does matter.
Oh, yeah.
It is a difference. If you've never trained there, if you've never played a full game there, you might be great the first 2 periods. You might be great the first 2 quarters of a football game or a basketball game. That third period, third quarter, fourth quarter of a game, you're like, it's a little, and now you're down. So I think they did play really well those first 2 periods. I also think that Coach Berube understands who his team is, who they are. And maybe he's looking at it and saying, for who we are, we played really well.
Yeah, pretty good.
So,
As bad as it is, you could always be the San Jose Sharks, who are 0-9-1.
It's not great.
And were drilled at home last night by the Vancouver Canucks 10-1. 0-9-1, and you lose 10-1 on home ice. Yeah, it was not good. A World Series score.
Yeah. Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad for San Jose. So it could always be worse, and the Blues play San Jose on the 12th of this month. Okay, we're off and running here on this edition of the Opening Drive. Yes, sir.
Can I give a shout-out to Mrs. Bush's third-grade class at Brown Elementary? They came over to our practice yesterday. Brown Elementary is directly behind Hazelwood Central. They came over yesterday. I know she says she listens every day. She enjoys us, our show. So, Mrs. Bush, thank you so much for bringing your kids. They made us letters, made us cards and pictures for our game tonight, telling us to go beat the Smitten. So it was really cool.
That's fantastic. Yes. That's cool. And I'll bet the kids loved it.
Oh, yeah. All the players came over, gave them high fives, and, thanked them for making the cards and the pictures.
Very cool. Coming up, we're going to talk to Jed Stugart, the head coach at Lindenwood. They've got homecoming tomorrow, and some other things going on in college football. Coming up your way next on 101 ESPN. Division I football team, the Lindenwood Lions, have homecoming in St. Charles. Tomorrow they'll be taking on Eastern Illinois University from Charleston, Illinois. Carrie Davis, Randy Carricker, and we head to the Celebrity Line, and Jed Stugart, the head coach at Lindenwood, joins us. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. Good to be on with you this morning.
A lot of people might not realize it, but the Eastern Illinois program is kind of storied, isn't it? They've got quite a history and quite a group of alums from Eastern Illinois.
Well, it is. I mean, growing up in Denver, being a Denver Broncos fan, I got to start with Mike Shanahan, obviously, is one of those famous guys with, there's a lot of great players that have come through there and coaches. Sean Payton, current Denver Bronco. Got Garofalo. We got keep going. Tony Romo. Yeah, so, that is. It's kind of a special story. A lot of people don't realize that.
Coach, as a head coach, I want to get your opinion on the biggest story, I guess, in college football over the last couple of weeks, the scandal that has taken place in Michigan. What are your thoughts on just opposing teams filming or getting an idea of what opposing teams are doing and how they're running their plays?
Well, Kerry, I think we've discovered that our 5 losses here, all that stuff happened. And so, I'm really not happy about it. It's really kind of a serious thing that unfortunately, signs get stolen in practice. In games all the time, but it's in the course of a game. I mean, I think there's teams that just put guys on. I mean, you're trying to figure out what's this sign mean and what did they run, and if you can kind of figure that out throughout the game, I don't even know if that's that really unethical. I mean, right. I think it's one of those things. But when we're at this point where there's money involved, there's stuff to try to get people planted. I mean, I honestly haven't followed that much of it, but my coaches have kind of shared with me like some of the stuff specifics that's really gone down over the last few days. Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's our job as coaches to teach the integrity of the game. It's our job to raise these kids up, and I don't even know if that's really a shot at, coach. Maybe like you said, he wasn't fully aware of all this. I know that I would want to, I'd be very disappointed if I ever found out that I don't know every aspect of my team, and so and I would want to know everything that's going on in my team because I'm ultimately responsible for it. So. It's kind of disappointing. I think we as coaches have a bigger job than just teaches X's and O's, but preparing young men for life, and I don't think that's teaching it.
Jed, one of the things Eli Drinkwitz said is that with the money that college football makes, it could be shared down to this Division I level, the FCS level, and everybody in Division I could have a system similar to what the NFL has with the transmitter that goes into the quarterback's helmets. What do you think of that?
There's no doubt, and that would help. I think we've learned even in the NFL, people, whatever you do, if you have it in your intentions to cheat, you're going to figure out a way to cheat. Now this solves a lot of that, no question. I think this has been brought up at our conventions and things like that. Even as much as 3-4 years ago, this has been being talked about. There's a lot of things that go into that. You got to have somebody that can, shut the mic off, at 10 seconds, before the snap. There's a lot of these things that, how many do you put it in? Like the NFL, you have like in our case, we're down to our 4th quarterback this year. How many mics do we put in our helmets right now? So there's a lot of those things that need to be worked out that will cost money, and I think that's been part of it at the conventions is that you have, all that stuff has to get worked out. But the good news is it can be worked out. I mean, it can be figured out. But unfortunately, I used to be a little bit old. I am kind of old school. I kind of like the adjusting on the side, on the sideline and not using technology and not having to do all this stuff. But unfortunately, it's kind of got us there, with actions of some.
Jed, you mentioned being on your 4th quarterback, and you've had a lot of other injuries. What have you learned about your group of guys when you're facing all this adversity?
Well, first of all, it's not the ideal year, but what I want to see is how our guys respond. And, number one, I think we have to look at the foundation of our team. One thing I'm very proud of is that in the midst of all this, how much they're staying together, they're fighting, they're scratching, they're not dividing. You don't hear the bickering. We had a great week of practice. I'm really encouraged, really, I think, to see, kind of that next man up mentality, and we've had some guys that have stepped in. I mean, we get to, we've been really excited about the quarterback we recruited last year out of Colorado, and he gets his first start tomorrow, and we've been excited about his week of practice, ready to see him go out and play. This is kind of why you recruit these guys, and I think our teams are going to really rally around Tyler, and so I've learned a lot of that, and I think I saw somebody tweet out looking at the depth charts. We're the 15th youngest team in the country right now,
wow.
and that's really exciting. I mean, we're going to keep fighting our job. We tweaked a lot of stuff in practice. I mean, we're doing everything we can to prepare our team. This is a team we beat last year, and they're going to be a little frustrated over that still. And I think our guys know that. It's homecoming. They're really proud to play in front of a lot of alumni that are coming back. So we're going to keep fighting and keep believing. I feel like, we had a great week of practice. This has been our theme this week. Go out and play your tails off and just let the chips fall where they may. Don't worry about scores. Don't worry about all that. Just one play at a time, one quarter at a time, and then let's see where it all sorts out.
Coach, when you're having a season like this, it's challenging. I want to know, is it more challenging when you're struggling to keep the guys together, or when you're winning at a high level, trying to keep the guys to stay even keel?
Well, and I think you played and you've coached, you're coaching. I mean, I think that's a great question, because I remember, through most of my career, the challenge has been, especially in those playoff years that we've had, it's getting guys to keep the humility of it and keep remembering what's got them there. And so, it's funny. It's like coaches are never happy. It's like they're winning. They're not winning by enough, or they didn't come out and start. They never did. They didn't start fast enough in the second half. We let them come back. And then we're mad after that. Then with a season like this, you're kind of. So no, coaches are never happy. It's one of those things. But
tough job, Coach.
I think it's just as challenging. When you're winning, to keep their mindset. But I think what you want to find out is when you have that foundation, and adversity reveals character and it reveals culture. And I'm really proud of these guys, because they ain't quitting, that's for sure. I mean, I told them, I reminded them, in the second half, when we really came back out in the second half of last week, I mean, we won the second half 13-3. I mean, it was one of those things where you guys can do this, and it's got to be the next man up mindset and mentality. And we've shown that we can do that.
2:00 tomorrow, Lindenwood against Eastern Illinois. Tickets will be available. It's homecoming, and it should be a fun event and a fun atmosphere. Coach, we'll see you there tomorrow. Thanks for the time, as always.
Thanks, guys. Always enjoy it.
Thanks. That's Jed Stugart, the head coach at Lindenwood University, and they take on Eastern Illinois tomorrow. Meanwhile, it's interesting, CD, that Mizzou and Georgia is the game of the day tomorrow in college football. Number 2 against number 12. Now, you have the big spread, so it might not wind up being the game of the day, but based on the rankings right now, 14th ranked LSU takes on number 8 Alabama. That's the primetime game on CBS. That starts at 6:45 St. Louis time. Alabama's a 3-point favorite. I really think, despite what's happening with USC, and their defense is horrific, but I think that their game has a chance to be really interesting tomorrow. So
against Washington.
Yeah. Yep. And I wouldn't expect it to be a defensive battle. I would think that it has a chance to be a shootout. And then you also have Oklahoma State. So you've got a Big 12 game. Oklahoma State tomorrow. Bedlam, 2:30 in the last Bedlam, by the way. And that one on ABC. So there are some really interesting games among ranked teams tomorrow.
Yeah, that USC-Washington game, Washington is only favored by 3 points, which is intriguing, seeing as how we've seen USC just not be able to stop anybody at all. If Washington can get 2 or 3 stops, they probably win that game, because we know there's going to be offense going up and down. But as you said, I think the Missouri game is going to be a really good game. Mizzou has to play sound football, take care of the football, not make mistakes. You can't last year is a perfect example of what not to do when you're playing the best team in the country. You had so many opportunities to win that game, and I think what was the final score? 13 to what was the final? They only lost by a touchdown or 10 points or something like that. But it was a game in which you could have
very easily won
26-22. So You lose by a touchdown, but you get down there in the red zone on the goal line. I remember watching that play specifically and saying, I don't know if I texted you or we were talking about it. When they got that penalty on the goal line and they moved themselves back, that changed the game for them because that was right before halftime. You scored there. You put yourself in a position. I believe you would have gone up in that moment, but you kicked the field goal. You got points, but it's not the points you needed, and it changes the momentum shifts a little bit for Georgia and for Missouri. You get down there, they're like, oh, man, they're on the doorsteps. They're about to go in. Oh, they're back 5 yards. Oh, we got life. Oh, we can still win this game. Missouri had every opportunity last year at home. It's going to be a little bit tougher on the road, but you still have that opportunity tomorrow to get it done.
Mizzou and Georgia, and that one on CBS television tomorrow. That's Kerry. I'm Randy. Coming up, now that the Major League Baseball season is over and the offseason is here, who's one player that you'd like the Cardinals to focus in on acquiring? Kerry and I and Matthew will give us ours. You can give us yours, too, on the text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Plus, you can always watch us on our Air Alliance Team YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. Just watch us online on YouTube. Coming up next, we're going to talk some ball on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Another week of NFL football has begun thanks to Thursday Night Football last night, and it was the Steelers over the Titans 20-16. I think Brooks going to look good in black and gold when the show comes back on Monday, and we got coming up a great slate of NFL football, and the Blues are back in action tonight. They host the New Jersey Devils. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop. You can catch the pregame starting right here on 101 ESPN at 6 p.m. And also over the weekend, number 12 Missouri heads down to Athens to face off against number 2 Georgia. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff on CBS. Also coming up this weekend, Sporting Kansas City hosts St. Louis City SC in Game 2 of their Round 1 matchup. It is a potential elimination game as City looks to win this series with a win. Bradley Carnell, head coach of St. Louis City, comes up on the opening drive at 8 a.m. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Is not here today. She is visiting family in Tennessee. It's Carrie, Matthew, and Randy. And Alden Gonzalez of ESPN has a story out regarding the possible destinations for Shohei Ohtani. Now, some of these are stalking horses, clearly. When you have this many teams on the list, some teams are there to drive up the price for other teams. The teams that Alden Gonzalez lists, 10 that Ohtani would be willing to go to, apparently, that's a third of baseball, are the LA teams, Texas, Seattle, Boston, the New York teams, the Cubs, San Francisco, and Toronto. So the Cardinals are not on that list of possibilities. I think the two that are kind of under the radar possibilities that I will not be surprised by are Seattle and San Francisco.
Well, staying on the West Coast more than likely seems like what would be feasible or what he would want to do. I was under the impression that he was going to want to stay in L.A., whether it be with the Angels, maybe the Dodgers, not really moving from that area. You get kind of comfortable. And I was watching something during the playoffs. We were talking about superstardom. Like Bryce Harper enjoys the superstardom. I think baseball does an okay job but could do better of marketing their superstars, a la Bryce Harper. He needs to be on every single commercial. So does Mike Trout, and so does Shohei Ohtani. Yep. But those two might not be guys that embrace that type of superstardom. They kind of just go to work, go home, and don't worry about it, which would be weird seeing that you're in L.A.
Yeah.
But
Ohtani's doing commercials now. You see him a lot.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to talk. His likeness is really valuable.
Right.
So I would think that with the Dodgers, he would be fine. Maybe not the bright lights of New York.
Right.
And is he going to are the Mets going to sign him after everything the Mets did this season?
I don't think I think the Mets hit the reset button, meaning when they got all of those guys off of their roster, they're like, hey, that didn't work. Let's try it a different way.
Yeah. So let's take Ohtani out of the mix.
Okay.
We're into the postseason now, into the offseason. In 4 days, players can determine whether they're going to be free agents, and hundreds will enter the free agent pool. Who's the one guy that you want to see the Cardinals get?
After watching him perform in the playoffs, I know his last start may not have been the top tier or top level that you wanted, but give me Aaron Nola. Give me an ace, a true ace, a guy that I know I can give the ball to every fifth day. He's going to go out there. He's going to do the best job that he can do. That's the one of the things that was lacking from this rotation, from this team all season long, was a true number one. I think Aaron Nola provides that for you, and he obviously has, playoff the credentials in the playoffs. He's had success. He showed up in big moments. You don't have to worry about him shrinking in those moments. You can give him the ball. And he seems like a guy that is pretty even-keeled as well, like not up and down, just go do his job and enjoys doing it.
I think that's a great call. And I am like you in wanting a starting pitcher. But from everything I hear in talking to people about Dylan Cease, he was victimized by the White Sox just being bad in 2023. He's still a guy that takes takes the ball every day. He gives innings. Nola does the same thing. But from the Cardinals' perspective, there's still a couple of years of control for Dylan Cease. So if the price is right, and I'm not giving up Jordan Walker to get Dylan Cease on my roster, but I'm going to give up a pretty significant chunk of talent so that I can get Dylan Cease. That's my one. All right. What about Matthew Rocc?
Can I ask you real quickly?
Yes.
So you're not giving up Jordan Walker. If you had to give up 2 players on this current roster, and not Jordan Walker and obviously not Goldie and Arenado, what 2 players are you willing to part with?
A couple of months ago during the season, we asked Jesse Rogers of ESPN, who's in Chicago, boots on the ground. I asked him if he thought the White Sox would take Nolan Gorman and Gordon Graceffo. And he said, yeah, I think that would get it done. I would do that.
Would Mason Wynn be off limits as well?
Off limits for me.
Yeah.
And by the way, they have a young shortstop in Chicago, but they're going to lose Tim Anderson.
Right.
So they might be interested in a guy like Wynn. But no, that's a big no for me, dog.
Randy Jackson.
Can I add a caveat?
Yes.
If Erod opts out, he's my number 1.
That's a good call.
Especially
He didn't want to go anywhere last year, right? He
wanted to go closer to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be around his family.
Around his family.
But he also wants to be closer with that family to a free zoo.
There it is. Exactly. And so if he opts out, Erod's my number 1, especially if we're talking about 5 years, $90 million. If 5 years, $100 million, I'd be comfortable with 5 years, 90 being the projection he got in the Bowden article in The Athletic. But, and I know you're going to hate this, Randy, but my second, if he doesn't opt out, it's still Sonny Gray, just because
Sonny.
3 years, $65 million is an extremely reasonable contract when you're talking about a Cardinals team that needs multiple starters in the offseason.
Sure.
And so I simply think that you give
how many
Sonny
years?
Gray's the projection right now that Bowden put in was 3 years, $64 million.
So they could have got Nathan Eovaldi last year for 2 and 34.
Yeah.
So
which one is better?
Fantastic.
Which one? Who is better?
Well, Nathan Eovaldi before he goes 4-0 in the freaking postseason and wins a World Series.
He's also been a key guy in the Red Sox World Series winning 20
I think Eovaldi was one of the names we talked about last year. Is who they should have gone after as well.
I would have loved Nathan Eovaldi, but now I'm going to move on to your boy Sonny Gray.
Here's my question about Sonny Gray. And I'm going to try to do this in a rational manner, okay? If Sonny Gray is the guy that the Cardinals spend their money on, who's your number 1 starter?
Probably Sonny Gray.
You probably in the same.
Similar, bro.
Yeah, I think you need a true number 1 starter. I think Aaron Nola fits that bill. I think Blake Snell fits that bill. I think those guys do. I don't know. I think Sonny Gray is
it's an extra $8 to $9 million.
Yeah, you want to call. You want to save money
plus 3 years.
You want to save money, or you want to win?
I'm trying to find a realistic way to get multiple pitchers in this roster, and the Cardinals spending.
I can give you one.
$65
I can give you a realistic way. Go pay for a pitcher in free agency and trade for a pitcher.
I'm trading for it. I'm buying a pitcher in free agency. That's what
No. You go get one pitcher, an ace, and then you trade for a pitcher. That is and then you said you were going to get 3. If you only get 2 in that manner, I think everyone will be satisfied. If it's the right 2.
I'm with you there.
So, yeah. I think Randy, I think we solved all the issues.
I'm preparing myself for I'm preparing myself for the Gray Lugo 1-2 punch as like the big moves. I'm preparing myself because it seems like if you asked me, get in a time machine, go to May 2024, what is your expectation? That's kind of my expectation.
Here's somebody who logically wants Will Smith, who's played on 3 consecutive
Get him here.
World Series teams.
ASAP.
So pretty good. What about Josh Hader? Anybody like Josh Hader?
I do like Josh Hader a lot.
Do you have a problem with paying $75 million for a closer?
I don't think. I would, but I would hope that he wouldn't cost that much.
60, 65.
I think I said it here.
Yeah, what Bowden says probably doesn't fly there.
Yeah,
because when you look at what has happened with expensive free agent closers, teams have a tendency to look at history. Who has imported an expensive reliever and had it work?
Bowden has 3 for 67.
Yeah.
That's just, I love it, but that just seems like a lot of money to put in a position that has proven to be so volatile.
Yeah. Somebody says we need Bob Gibson, who can pitch every game. That'd be a good one to have. Here's another one, Yamamoto. And we haven't even talked about the Japanese pitchers. Yamamoto is an interesting name, and the Cardinals apparently have interest in him. Ohtani would be a long shot. I would say a real long shot. And
is there a number, Yamamoto, 7 for 200? Is that a number that causes you to say, whoa?
I would. I have to admit, I have not seen enough of him.
Right.
For me, yes, that would cause me to go, whoa, because he's a guy that's pitched in 6-man rotations. So you're going to have to change your approach with a guy like that until he assimilates to the American game. Great stuff, and young. I think that is an interesting number for him. I think if I had the choice between trading for Cease, who's done it at the major league level, or getting Yamamoto, I would go for Cease. But if I can't get Cease and I can't get Nola, then Yamamoto is right there at the top of my list.
The Cardinals need to make a splash, and they need to go out and sign and trade a guy.
Can you
sign a guy and trade for a guy?
What do we need to do to get me to this point by Christmas? Because we got a text here from the 618, and he says either Juan Soto or Jorge Soler, Aaron Nola, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Gray is the only successful offseason. What do I need to do short of getting into something extremely illegal to get that kind of positivity going? What do I get? I'm just asking.
It would be a fun offseason.
I'd love it. I would love it. I would love to even have a hope
the
that
only
a tenth of that
successful
would happen.
offseason? Yeah, that's a lot of money going to a lot of people.
You're shipping out like $180 million. That's like $120 million in spending for next season.
And my guess is that you're probably not going to have young players left if you're trading for both Soto and Glasnow.
Yeah, that's a lot. I don't think that's possible.
So, but it'd be fun to have a starting rotation of Nola, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Gray. I think I would be intrigued.
Michaelis is your 5 at that point?
Yeah, I would be intrigued. Hey, thanks for your text. We do appreciate them, and we need more because we've got Take It or Leave It coming up. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! TIOLI next for you on 101 ESPN.
take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Great to have you with us on a happy Friday morning on 101 ESPN. Carrie, Randy, and Matthew. Brooke is out. She'll be back on Monday. Carrie, I had the great fortune of emceeing an event last night for Friends of Kids with Cancer over at the Ritz-Carlton. It was their annual fashion show where kids with cancer or that have are in remission for cancer, they actually get to model clothes. And Joey Vitale was there. We'll talk to him about this later on. But John Kelly was there. Nico Gioacchini was there. It was really great. The local sports teams really were terrific. And in the crowd, because he's going to the Metallica concert tonight, was ESPN's Chris Berman. I've known him for a long time and had a chance to go talk to him. Take it or leave it, Chris Berman, in the 44 years of ESPN, is the most memorable talent that they've had.
Take it. Hey, him and Stuart Scott. I think Stuart Scott was
Booyah.
Yeah. Chris Berman, rumbling, tumbling, bubbling. He was him, Stuart Scott, because first time I heard Stuart Scott on TV, I was like, I've never heard anybody talk like that on TV.
Yeah.
And then you had Chris Berman with all of the nicknames.
Yep.
Yes, those are the first two that come to mind when I think of ESPN and all that they have done, throughout the years.
I was telling him that we would come home from Rams games during the greatest show on Turf Area. I said, we just had to see your highlights because they were so cool. And he said, it wasn't me, it was them. And he wasn't wrong, but he was kind of the soundtrack for the highlights of that team. And he's the one that gave them the name, The Greatest Show on Earth.
Okay.
And then Barnum and Bailey stepped in and said, you can't call them The Greatest Show on Earth. We are. And they had a trademark, so they changed it to The Greatest Show on Turf. But I was thinking about it, and there have been so many great talents, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann and Bob Lee and all of the people that have been at ESPN. But for me, the most memorable is definitely Chris Berman.
Yeah, he's definitely top two. Yeah, him and Stuart Scott. Yeah,
Great
he was
sports guy.
just awesome. So I was reading got an article from the New York Post saying that bad grammar actually causes physical distress in others. Take it or leave it, bad grammar, when you read bad grammar from other people, it causes a pain inside of you.
So like when you lose a game and it's spelled Loose?
Oh, Randy. Lose and loose is like one of the top tier. That one, two and two, there and there.
Yep.
Though I'm reading this and this, you are.
Yep.
It pains me.
It shouldn't be that difficult.
We all went to school. The curriculum was all the same. We all learned how to spell, how to read, and how to write.
And yet every time I try to avoid putting a preposition at the end of a sentence in the fight, you and Brooke just come at me. Well, it sounds weird.
Oh, listen.
CD, it causes me angst.
Physical pain.
Tony Romo on a broadcast the other day said lackadaisical. And I gritted my teeth. I said,
help you, Carrie. Help me help you.
Yeah. So, and for those that use the word lackadaisical, please don't anymore. There's lax and there's lackadaisical. It's not a combined word.
Two totally different words.
Don't
put them together.
And actually, they kind of mean the same thing. kind of laissez-faire. They're not really caring about. You're lax. You don't really care. You're relaxed, or you're lackadaisical. You don't really care. So you can use lax, or you can use lackadaisical. But not lackadaisical. Okay.
Just maybe putting an emphasis. You see how you felt?
My shoulders are tightening up.
Take a deep breath. Because it does. I have to turn. I get on Facebook sometimes like, oh, you're so damn dumb. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Oh yeah, Lord. Right. What do we got on the text line, Matthew?
Take it or leave it. If the Cardinals' payroll is at 155 now, take it or leave it, they will not pass 180.
I'll take that.
25 more. Oh,
155.
I think 180 is the magic number, though.
Can we get to 190? Can I interest you in 190?
190. I don't think they'll go
one pitcher.
That's what I'm saying. That's why 25 million is from where you are.
Offer is 20 million.
Give me really 195. I know you're not going to go above 200. It's okay. Mm-hmm. You can 198 to 192 range, 192 to 198. Stay in that. If you can get in that range, That's a good number.
I think the Cardinals are too risk averse with the situation with Bally.
What?
And as Bill DeWitt III said, and this is not me saying it, it was him to the Business Journal, they're going to have reduced revenues. I'm thinking that
Why is the revenue going to be reduced, Randy?
Well, they didn't get as many people into the ballpark.
Why not?
Because they weren't as good.
Because they weren't as good. So fix it by fixing the team.
But are they sure that if they win, they're going to get those fans back, or is there a chance that those fans have already departed for St. Louis City SC? I know multiple people, 3 or 4, that have made the decision. They had season tickets for both the Cardinals and SC this year, and made the decision to go with SC for their season tickets rather than the Cardinals.
But I know, and I'm sure, I don't know if we have a waiting list like the Packers do for season tickets, but I'm sure there's a waiting list to get season tickets to become a Cardinal season ticket holder. I'm sure that those people that decided that they're going to go in City's direction, for every one of those, there's another person that wants to go see the Cardinals.
And that's why I said it's not me. It was DeWitt that said that they're going to have decreased revenues.
But this is an analytical team. The analytics tell you that they've been coming for decades, man. All you got to do is put a good product on the field.
I think I really think
Randy,
that 180 is the magic number.
If they go 170, I'm going to walk off. We're going to have a show. When they finish their roster, I'm going to get up, put my headset down, and walk out.
And by the way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that last year the Rangers' opening day payroll was 175, right? Let me double check here. The Cardinals were well behind them, but so you can do things hopefully during the season if the fans show up, and if you're good enough so that the fans do show up. Here we go. Opening day payroll last year. The Cardinals they were ranked 15th. Oh, the Cardinals were at 175, and the Rangers were at 195 at the beginning of last year.
So there's, you want to win a World Series? 195 is the number.
But they went over 200 with their Scherzer trade and stuff like that. But yeah, so the Cardinals started at 1, and that's the number to look at, not the number they closed at because they traded Montgomery and Flaherty and all those guys. So 175 is the magic number.
Which was up from the year before, from like 160. So it wasn't like 160 the year before, so it was about 15 million more.
Yeah.
But
so I can get you to 190, 175 to start last year, 190 to start this year. I can get you to 190.
Which again is one pitcher.
If you're 155 right now?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking, 35 million? That's a pitcher and a reliever.
Can I get 5 million more?
Starter and reliever.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 40 million.
5 million's no big deal.
No, I mean, not if you. That's the case. Give me 10.
Now you got some starting pitchers, baby. Now you got Stu going. Take it or leave it. People that tell me the score of a game with the losing team score first drives you nuts.
Totally take it.
What type of sick individual?
Yeah.
What?
It doesn't bother me.
They lost 1-3.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Why would anybody ever say that?
Who hurt you?
What type of individual? Where are you from? What,
I'm from an individual.
Why do they do that?
I'm from an individual that if I don't want to use the word lose in a tweet because I only have 140 characters or whatever it is now, I just say Mizzou 14-28. You can now see that they lost that game.
Oh, Rocc, I won't be following you anytime soon.
I think that
It's only in a situation
how
where
many words
are you?
How many characters are you using that you can't put 4 more in there?
I hate using multiple tweets.
LOSE.
I don't like that. No, I'm moving this an L. I'm saving every character, Carrie.
You probably need to condense
how does
those.
Why not just put the other team first? I mean, why not do it the way it's supposed to be done? For example, they lose to Georgia 28-14. Georgia 28, Missouri 14.
There you go. It makes too much sense.
It does.
No, I mean, I'm not. I don't understand why you guys are saying it. It doesn't bother me, and so I've done it before.
Bothers me as much as loose.
There you go. Take it or leave it. I should not feel bad betting against the Blues when they play any good team. Take it.
It's your own pocketbook. Nobody loves you like you love you.
I at this point, I just feel like we're kind of seeing who the Blues are. They're a good team, good players, good guys, but just maybe not good enough to win the games versus the upper echelon teams in the league.
That's very well said. Hey, thanks for your texts. We do appreciate them. For Take It or Leave It, coming up, it's Game 2 between St. Louis City SC and Sporting KC Sunday at 4. We're going to talk to City coach Bradley Carnell next on 101 ESPN.
Sound City SC on the opening drive in our weekly segment we like to call Controlled Chaos.
Brought to you by Keystone Event Staffing. Better people mean better events.
Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, Game 2 of the best-of-3 series between St. Louis City SC and Sporting KC. And joining us right now on the Celebrity Line with Kerry Davis and Randy Carricker is Bradley Carnell, the head coach of St. Louis City SC. Coach, good morning. Great to have you with us. Thanks for your time. How you doing?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, thanks for having me over again. Yeah, it's been a while.
How has your training gone this week?
Yeah, it's gone good. Yeah, I mean, business as usual. You know, we've haven't changed our methods. We've stuck to who we're trying to be and you know, what we expect to see on game day. So, you know, for us, it's been business as usual. Right?
Yeah. How did the group react after what happened on Sunday night?
Yeah, for sure. It takes a bit of time, you know, a little bit of deflation, but also, you know, we're not going to stick our head in sand and disappear. And, you know, we want to make sure that the feelings that we had post-game for those initial hours, we've dished that out many times this season. So, you know, and that's part of being a pro, and that's part of being in a pro organization. You know, sometimes you're on top, and sometimes you get, you know, take a punch to the stomach. So, you know, we got that blow, and now we're dealing with it, and now we're trying to, you know, get sharp, get fit, get healthy again, and we know there's another round to this fight, you know, and that's what the message has been, and yeah, we're excited about that. It's not, you know, prior years of being in the league, you know, there's the aggregate scoring where away goals count and all these types of parameters, but that's not the case anymore. So it's a loss. You know, we take the loss and we have to go away from home and now just turn the table, you know, and that's as simple as it gets. We just have to go there and win.
Coach, do you feel like your group, you know, first playoff game ever, got hit in the mouth? Do you feel like your group is going to respond in a way that they understand the importance of what has to take place over there in Kansas this weekend?
Yeah, I think they knew the importance in the first game too, you know, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. I think that's just, you know, one of the things that, you know, everyone or, you know, we are quick to forget about. You know, this is part of our journey. This is part of our season, and we have to take the good with the bad. And, you know, anyone signs up for this job, they know that it's not always going to be, you know, the smell of a bed of roses. Sometimes there's going to be tough moments as well. And these moments we have to get through as a group and, you know, be excited about the challenges, because when you get through those challenging times, that's when it makes it so much sweeter, the success.
Coach, do you change anything in terms of approach, whether lineup or schematic for Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, we're just having a look for sure. There's a small different picture we want to put out there, but you know what that means, who's in, who's out. You know, we'll leave that for game day, and you know, we've been convincing with our, you know, players. We've been supportive of the players. We've been supportive as a group, and you know, we're excited as a group just to right those wrongs. You know, and I don't think it matters who starts, who's on the bench. I think we've proven time and time again. You know, we have a complete group that believes in the picture. We have a complete group that has given performances, whether they started or whether they've come off the bench. So, you know, I think it's going to take a whole group performance for us to get through on the weekend.
And, Coach, we know, and I'm sure you know, that Sporting KC listens to the opening drive on the app every single day. So we don't want to give away the St. Louis City SC game plan just yet on the radio on a Friday morning.
100%. I mean, listen, and the thing is, even if we gave everything away, it's nothing they wouldn't know anyway. Yeah. You know, they know us pretty well. We've played them now 4 times. The series between us are 2-2. We're going into game number 5, you know. We're just hoping it turns into game number 6 here at City Park in 14 days' time.
Coach, when you look at that game on Sunday, what are some of the things that you liked from that game that you all can improve on?
Yeah, listen, I thought, you know, up until the goal that we conceded, you know, I thought we were in the game, you know, and, yeah, listen, we were bitterly disappointed the way the game, you know, gets going over 90 minutes and the way we conceded the goals. And, you know, if you think about when we played them here at home a couple of weeks ago, the score was 0 at 72 minutes, right? we make 1 or 2 changes, a different energy. We score 4 goals in 12 minutes. Last Sunday we concede 3 goals in 15 minutes. And, we concede goals from, outside the box. These things don't always happen. So that gives me hope that, these things, and Dembe scores his first goal in his whole career. Credit to him. He's at the right spot at the right time and rips one from, 20 meters or something, and that goes in the top corner. So, again, some things are just meant to be, and some things are just meant to be in a negative way for us. And those were those moments that, we got smacked in the face. But for me, I always say you have to work – you have to work exceptionally hard to get lucky. I thought did we give enough account of ourselves on the day? Maybe we left a few percent out there. Maybe we could have, willed ourselves to a little bit more as a group. So, that's the only thing I would say is just being a lot more in a group dynamic, a lot more in a group sort of supporting space, whether I'm on the bench or whether I'm playing. So for me, it's about the group, and knowing that things happened last week Sunday that don't usually happen. And that's what we're going to put forward to, and that's going to give us hope going forward.
Coach, in watching from a non-expert perspective last week, it seemed like KC was able to force possession onto you. How do you deal with that if they're forcing the possession onto St. Louis City this week?
Yeah, listen, I mean, a lot of teams have done it, and a lot of teams have, and some days we have really good days with the ball, and some days we have some off days with the ball, and not every day is going to go your way, where every pass, every connection, every through ball, every cross, every shot comes off, right? Everything went in their favor on that day. So, we know the tables can turn, and we've seen it turn before. So, we have to now, apply ourselves in a slightly different manner. We have to take the game in a different, slightly take it to them in a different way, and then we'll see what comes out of it. At their field now, where they might have to be forced to do 1 or 2 more things that they're not used to.
Coach, can you talk to me about the environment at City Park for the first ever playoff game? What was that environment like in comparison to maybe the home opener?
Yeah, I think that's what most, disturbing for the players, to live with that after the fact, knowing the way the fans came out, the way the buzz in the stadium was exceptional. It was electric, as it always has been, but just that first playoff game. So the players are disappointed at the result, but, we're disappointed at what we gave our fans. We knew when you draw a line in the sand, what's acceptable, what's not. We knew that wasn't acceptable. We knew that moment got away from us, and the players are chomping at the bit to right that wrong and to get us back on that on the right side of the tracks. Yeah.
Does weather make any difference? It's going to be 70 degrees and dry on Sunday.
No, I mean, I felt we had one of our best games against Minnesota a couple of weeks ago in the bit of cold and rain, and then we've had one of our best games. When we came out of the Leagues Cup under pressure and beat Austin. 6-3. It was 5-1 or 5-2 at some point late on in the game, but that was at 114 degrees or something, felt like, or heat index. So I think we've proven at both sides of the spectrum that we can perform.
Hey, Bradley, one more thing, and you just talked about the crowd here at City Park on Sunday night. Apparently there's going to be a lot of City Red in the stands on Sunday. How much does that energize your players to know that people are driving across the state of Missouri to come and watch you perform?
Yeah, it's incredibly humbling and incredibly supportive, because that's exactly what we need. If we can feel at home away from home, and as we have done, I mean, I know the result didn't go our way the last time we played there, but I thought we did a pretty good account of ourselves, and the fans really brought it, and that felt like a home match for that game. So if we could have something of the same, we'd be extremely grateful, and of course we want to turn those tables around.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Good luck on Sunday, and I'll say it here. We'll talk to you next week as we prepare for Game 3, okay?
Thank you so much. Yes, let that be the case.
All right, take care. Bradley Carnell, the head coach of St. Louis City SC, joining us here in the opening drive on 101 ESPN. I love Bradley Carnell.
No, I think he's awesome. He's a great coach, great man. He's always come on with us, and enjoy having him on, because I think he gives us, the honest opinion, honest truth of what's going on with this team.
And we ask about even keel.
Yeah.
You couldn't have a more even keel guy than him.
He's the best.
Yeah.
It's just they just keep doing everything right.
Yeah,
Again, they didn't play well on Sunday. It happens, but I mean, right now everything off the field just keeps going just perfectly. Carnell's great.
Coming up, the Blues take on the New Jersey Devils tonight at Enterprise Center. We have the pregame for you at 6 and the action at 7. Blues center Robert Thomas joins us on game day next on 101 ESPN.
Inside the Blues locker room.
What a goal by Robert Thomas!
It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Out today, visiting her family in Tennessee. Carrie Davis, Randy Carricker, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. The Blues taking on the Devils tonight at Enterprise Center, and then the Canadians tomorrow night. And joining us on the Celebrity Line is friend of the show, Robert Thomas, who joins us every week. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well, guys.
Great to have you with us. First of all, you have a skate in a couple of hours, and then you'll play tonight. What do you think of the tradition of the pregame skate in hockey, the 10:30 in the morning skate?
I personally love it. I think it kind of gets you moving in the morning. You get to feel the puck, kind of skate around a little bit. So I'm a big fan.
Does it get you all? I mean, how are you all? And I'm not really a morning person, even though I'm up every morning. How are you in the mornings? Are you up and at them, or are you kind of slow motion until it's time to get going?
It depends. Usually, if we play at night, the next morning I am out of service until like 10 a.m. But if we don't play, I'm usually up and about it.
How about caffeine? Does caffeine work for you?
I actually don't drink coffee.
25, Randy. You don't have to drink coffee when you're 25. Tell him, man. Listen, Robert, 25 years old. You got your own thing. You don't need caffeine at 25.
Robert,
am I correct?
You have the floor.
No, I actually don't drink coffee. None of my family has, but I got a dog now, and he has no problem waking me up in the morning. So.
Okay, so number one, you're the guy walking around a hockey rink that doesn't have coffee in his hand, right? You're the one.
Yeah.
Because that's a tradition in hockey rinks. Okay, tell us about the dog's name and breed.
I got a Bernedoodle. His name's Moose, and he's a brown Bernedoodle. Who's chuckling? I hear him laughing.
It's Matthew.
It's Matthew in the background.
Moose is a great name for a dog.
Hey, I'll tell you this, Robert. I have a dog named Moose. He's a lab mix. Chris Pronger also has a dog named Moose that's a lab mix. Moose is a great name. Why did you go with the name Moose for your dog?
Well, you probably just heard him barking. I don't know, just when we saw him, he was like, in his whole litter, he's the only brown one. He's brown and white, and, we're Canadian. We were like, Moose sounds great, and kind of stuck with it.
Perfect. I named mine after Brian Elliott on the day that he got benched by the Blues in the 2016 playoffs. I named my dog. I actually put him on a bench. My very first picture of my dog Moose is on a bench.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah, I know it's bad. I know it's bad. But unfortunately, Moose, who's one of my all-time favorite Blues, he never played another game for us, but my dog is named after him. So I honored Moose that way.
There you go.
So, hey, hockey players, you know more than us when you're down on the ice when things are coming. And you guys have obviously been inconsistent and you haven't been able to score a lot. Is there anything that is making you think, okay, we're on the edge of something good happening?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think, first of all, I think scoring obviously has been an issue so far this year, but you look at historically with our team, we've never really had a problem scoring. It's more so taking care of our own end. So I think that's one big positive to take out of all this is, the scoring's going to come. The chances are there. It's just not going in. And at least we're doing enough defensively to kind of keep ourselves in these games that, when the scoring comes, we're going to have success. I think that's one big positive to take all of it. And also at the same time, I think games we won, we've played such a strong game, and we've been able to do it, and I think that's another thing. We just need that consistency of doing that every night.
Robert, you talk about scoring and the struggles there. Some of the struggles have also come on the power play. Have you all talked more about just how to get that going and maybe taking more shots and being a little bit more selfish? I think you all are great team players, but sometimes you got to be a little bit selfish out there and get that shot on goal.
Yeah, like I was saying, on the power play, chances are a huge thing. You look at if you're consistently getting those chances, they're going to go in the net. Also when you're scoring, the power play's got a little bit of swagger, a little bit of confidence, and I think that's really important, especially on the power play. So, those chances are going to go in. Eventually, they can't stay out forever, and when they do, I think it'll really open up a lot more.
Robert, you're known as a playmaker, and we sit afar. Carrie and I never played, but we say, okay, well, he's got to develop chemistry with player X or player Y that's on his wings. Can you tell us about that process and whether it really is a process to develop chemistry with somebody that you're playing with?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is a huge thing. A lot of times out there on the ice, you don't even have time to look. You're playing off instincts. You're playing off of, where you expect people to be and where you think people are going to be. And that's what comes with chemistry. Knowing what guys like to be, where they are in different situations. So you don't even have to look. You just know and trust that they're going to be there. So that's a huge part of hockey and building chemistry, and creates a lot of plays off of that.
Does it make it harder when you all are changing lines and shifting people around like that?
Yes and no. I think, everyone's a really good player at this level. So, doesn't really matter who you're playing with. Even if you're just watching the game, sitting on the bench watching, you kind of pick up on things with different people. So that when you do play with them, you kind of get a jump start on it.
You like having these back-to-backs tonight against Jersey and tomorrow against Montreal?
I do, yeah, especially where we're kind of at. I'm excited for the game tonight. I think we're going to have a good response. Obviously, New Jersey's been playing really well, so it's going to be a big challenge for us. And I think everyone on the team's just wanting to play more games. We want to prove ourselves, and we want to enjoy going to the rink and winning games. So I'm excited to have back-to-backs and to kind of have a bunch of games coming up here.
Hey, Robert, I got to tell you, I am 61 years old, and I've had one cup of coffee in my life. Oh. So, I'm not a coffee guy either, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what it just doesn't sit well with me, taste, and definitely not in my stomach. So.
Robert, I'm about to be on my second one today. Don't worry about it. As soon as this interview ends, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, he'll make up for our deficiencies.
I see some guys with like 4 or 5 cups in the morning. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
They're zooming. Joey Vitale. That's Joey's talking to you, man. No doubt. Hey, have a great day. Have a great game tonight, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Take care. Robert, and we also heard from Moose. His Bernadoodle. So,
I like how we heard in the background. That was great.
Yeah. So bark. We heard his Moose.
He heard you snickering. He was over there snickering.
He heard our Rocc. Yeah.
He said Moose, and I was like, I know for a fact Randy has a dog named Moose. I know for a fact there's another Blues player. I can't remember who, but I'm pretty sure there's another Blues player who has a dog named Moose currently on the roster. And so I was laughing because I was like, it's a great name for a dog, but I've heard it used a lot. It's but again, if you got a big brown Labradoodle, those things are a lot bigger than you ever expect them to be. People don't hear Labradoodle and think tiny dogs, but usually it's a standard poodle, which means that on its hind legs, it's a 6-foot-tall dog. It's a big-ass dog, so, Moose is a great name for it.
Yeah. One of the things the Blues need to make sure that they don't do is let this season get away from them quickly, like they did last year with the 8-game losing streak. It was basically over after the 8-game losing streak, and I'm not suggesting that the Blues are going to go into an 8-game losing streak, but right now, the Blues have 7 points. Now, they've got a couple of games in hand on pretty much everybody else in the conference. They've played 8 games. Colorado and Dallas have played 9, but I don't think anybody has any illusions about chasing Colorado and Dallas. But the Blues do have 2 games on hand on third place Arizona, on wild card teams, current wild card teams like Vancouver and the Kings. Vegas has played 3 more games than the Blues, but then Anaheim has played 10. They're 5 ahead of the Blues. Winnipeg has played 10. They're 3 ahead of the Blues. Seattle has played 11. By the way, the Blues have played 8. Seattle is 3 points ahead of the Blues. Nashville and Minnesota both have 1-point leads on the Blues, but they played 2 more games. The Blues do need to take advantage of these games that they haven't played yet to get back into this mix, because once you fall behind, not every season is going to be like 2018, 2019. Once you fall behind, it's really hard to make up ground.
If they just kind of trade wins and losses and they're a 500 team when, let's say, around Christmas time, New Year's, are you freaking out about this Blues season, or is that just something, is that kind of taking it in stride? I
want them to be a playoff team, and if they're within 4 or 5 points of the playoffs when we get to Christmas, I'll be fine with that.
See, I'm looking at it from a different set of lenses. I don't think that this team, again, I think they're going to work hard, play hard to the best of their ability, but they just may not have everything that is needed to have the success that they need to win multiple games. That, to me, and Army came out and said it was third place in the division. Hope to finish third. I think they have a real view of what this team is and what they are not. Now, if they play out of their minds, they can do that, but I just want to see the consistency. Give me what you showed me in those first 2 periods against Colorado, and I think you'll win more games than you lose. But when you don't show up, like against the Canucks, I think that's a bad sign.
CD, you'll appreciate this. They can be a playoff team if they listen to their coaches and execute what their coaches say.
So you're telling me the coach spends hours upon hours watching film, studying, putting guys in the proper places to make the play. And then the player's job is to go out there, listen to what the coach has said, keep it in his brain, and then go execute the plan that was set forth.
And even if you have lesser talent,
you can still win.
You can still win and compete.
That's amazing. You know what? Never thought about that.
It's pretty amazing.
I tell my kids, you know, I learned all of this from Football for Dummies, the book I read. I read it once a month. Never played. Just read that book. You're good to go. And you listen to me, I tell you, we can go places.
Beautiful. Do we need a fighter, Matthew?
Yes.
We do need a fighter, so you can text in 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-YO-HO. Your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Last night, another NFL slate starts up with a Steelers win over the Tennessee Titans, 20-16. Carrie Davis, very happy in studio somewhere in Tennessee. Brooke Grimsley, not as happy. Coming up here on 101 ESPN later today, Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports joins Carrie and Randy just after the fight to talk about Mizzou and Georgia, and also Jim Harbaugh. Also, Joey Vitale joins us for his Friday hit at 9:15. Speaking of those Blues, they're back in action facing off against the Devils tonight, 7 p.m. puck drop, 6 p.m. pregame right here on 101 ESPN. You want to hear more Blues talking? Go to the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast later this afternoon and hear Robert Thomas talk it over with Randy and Carrie. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Carrie Davis, joined by Matthew Rocchio. Brooke is out in Tennessee for the weekend, and we are preparing for the fight. Our fighter today is Hayden. Hayden, how you doing?
I'm doing a little worse than you after the Titans lost to the Steelers last night.
Oh, hey, I'm doing great. I am doing fantastic.
Gary?
Last night was a great night for me. Watching my Steelers win on Thursday night. Thursday night in Pittsburgh.
Now slow down. If Brooke was here, she wouldn't be allowing this. Slow your roll. Slow your roll. Slow your roll.
Sorry to all the Titans fans. You shouldn't have rooted.
You're not sorry at all.
I'm not.
You're a liar. That's a lie.
Hayden, here we go.
All right.
The Blues are 1 for 28 on the power play so far this season. Which Blues forward scored their only goal? Is it Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, or Jordan Kyrou?
Kyrou.
There have been 9 college football playoffs. How many have not featured Alabama? Is that 0, 1, or 2?
1.
The last time Georgia lost a football game was 2021 to which SEC school? Was it LSU, Alabama, or Auburn?
Let's go LSU.
And since the merger in 1970, that's when football started, Carrie, there are only 2 quarterbacks who have made the Hall of Fame without ever throwing a touchdown pass to a Hall of Fame player. Len Dawson is one, but which 80s and 90s star is the other? Was that Dan Fouts, Phil Simms, or Dan Marino?
Oh, boy. Let's go Fouts.
All right, we will double-check our scores, and we will bring in Randy Carricker.
All right, Hayden, how you feel?
Not great. Was hoping for some more baseball questions, I'm not going to lie.
I don't think you had any baseball questions here today.
Not a one.
It's almost like Rocc knows somehow through osmosis. He knows what the contestant wants to hear, what topics they want to go with, and it never works out that way for him.
And somehow I always seem to piss off hockey fans the most.
It happens. Randy is joining us now. Say hello to Hayden.
Hayden, good morning. How are you?
Doing all right. Not as good as CD after the game last night, but doing all right.
There you go. I didn't show you all this, did I?
Pittsburgh Steelers. There we go.
I forgot.
You duped us. You had the black on under the Hazelwood, and I just assumed. It was all Hazelwood.
Closer to my heart.
Okay.
It's closer to my heart.
Wow. That's beautiful.
All right, Randy, you ready?
I'm ready, sir.
Here we go. The Blues scored. The Blues are 1 for 28 on the power play so far this season. Which Blues forward scored that only goal?
I believe that would have been number 25, Jordan Kyrou, if I'm not mistaken.
There have been 9 college football playoffs. How many have not featured Alabama?
Alabama. They did lose an SEC championship game to LSU the year that Burrow. But I think they might have even played in the championship. I'm just going to take a wild guess and say 1. I have no idea, really, but I'm going to go with 1.
The last time Georgia lost a football game was 2021 to which SEC school?
I will go with Alabama.
Randy, since the merger in 1970, that's when football began, don't you all know?
Yeah.
There are only 2 quarterbacks who have made the Hall of Fame without ever throwing a touchdown pass to a Hall of Fame player. Len Dawson is one, but which 80s, 90s star is the other?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it is Brett Favre. I'm going to go with, well, you know what? I should do the lifeline, I guess, since I have it here. I'll do the lifeline, but he'll probably be on it.
Dan Fouts, Phil Simms, or Dan Marino?
Oh, okay. So Dan Fouts through to Kellen Winslow, Phil Simms, and Dan Marino. Marino, Duper, Clayton, Nat Moore. They probably traded for one. Hard to imagine that Phil Simms would have had a... so this is a Hall of Famer, not necessarily a Hall of Fame receiver, right?
This says Hall of Fame player.
Okay, Hall of Fame player. So Phil Simms, he had Joe Morris and Rodney Hampton when he started. I don't know if he ever threw into Lawrence Taylor or something. Maybe they lined up Taylor as a tight on the right side or something. I don't recall a Giant that went to the Hall of Fame. I am going to go with, I'm trying to think of who Marino might have thrown to. This is weird. Duper, Clayton, Joe Rose. I mean, his running backs were there must have been some Hall of Famer there for as great as those Dolphin teams were, I'm thinking. So I will go with Phil Simms. Probably wrong, but I'll go with Phil Simms.
It was a very close fight today. Another one-question win. And it happened in an unexpected fashion. But you're going to have to find out here in a second after I draw this out a little bit longer before you find out what exactly that unexpected fashion led to. So, does it lead to another Randy Carricker victory here on a Friday? Or are we bringing Hayden back on Monday after a weekend and after a victory today? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
I'm sorry, Hayden. Randy Carricker beat you 1-0 today.
Oh, dang.
It was a low-scoring fight. You know what? I like that. It can be fun. But unexpected, I would say.
I was feeling good when a lot of my answers were the same as his, I guess. That wasn't the case.
It goes one way or the other when that happens. The Blues are 1-8 on the power play so far this season. Jordan Kyrou got the assist. That was both of your guys' answer. Pavel Buchnevich put in the one power play goal. There have been 9 college football playoffs. How many have not featured Alabama? It's 2 last year and then the 2016 version of the 2017 version, of the college football playoff as well. The last time Georgia lost a football game was in 2021 to which SEC school? It was the SEC championship game to Alabama, but they would obviously come back and get revenge for that loss in just a few weeks in the national championship game. Since the merger in 1970, there are only 2 quarterbacks who have made the Hall of Fame without ever throwing a touchdown pass to a Hall of Fame player: Len Dawson and Dan Marino. Brett Favre threw to Randy Moss for 2 touchdown passes in Minnesota.
What about Phil Simms?
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, forgot about that.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
We get a texter who said Len Dawson threw to Otis Taylor, but that doesn't really affect the question.
That was probably
but I believe it's
1970.
pre-merger is why it's not included. I haven't found.
In Rock's opinion, before football mattered.
Yeah.
But a 1-0 win for Randy Carricker today in the fight again. Thank you so much to Hayden for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Hayden. Coming up next, the Jim Harbaugh Michigan sign-stealing situation is wild, and we're going to talk about that with Dennis Dodd, our friend from CBSSports.com. Dennis, next on 101 ESPN. One common denominator among vibrant business regions is great public transportation, whether that is buses or whether that is the ability to call a ride or whether that is a train system. All of the regions that are succeeding in our country have really good public transportation. And we have really good public transportation here in St. Louis with Metro. And having a healthy public transportation system like Metro is vital to the viability of the region, to attract Fortune 500 and Fortune 5,000 companies, to be able to get employees to their jobs. It makes all the difference in the world to have something like Metro. And if you already like it, you're going to love it once you know what a difference it does make in our communities. With Metro, even if you don't use it yourself, there are lots of reasons to recommend it to others because they might need it. They might use it. They might have to have it to get to work every day. If you want to support your community, riding Metro supports local business and helps to reduce traffic congestion as well. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive. In college football, really compelling this year. Super Bowl champ Gary Davis, Randy Carricker, great to have you with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And we are joined by our friend Dennis Dodd of CBSSports.com here on 101 ESPN to talk about Mizzou, Georgia, and about what's going on with Jim Harbaugh. Dennis Dodd, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys? I listen every morning.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And I love your latest missive, which is headlined, Once College Football's Upset King, Missouri Seeks Return to Glory, Visiting Reigning Champ Georgia. Number one, we're old enough to remember when Missouri regularly would play top 10, top 20 opponents. It wasn't a top 25 back in the 70s. But I looked it up. 28 of Missouri's non-conference opponents in the 70s, Dennis, were top 20 teams. That's 28 were ranked, 12 were not.
Yeah, that's amazing. That would never happen these days. In a 7-year period, Missouri played 10 top 10 teams. There are programs that exist today that have never played one. There's 133 FBS teams. In fact, there's probably quite a few. The legacy goes back to the 1940s when Don Farrow became coach and AD and had to fix the budget deficit, and they had to play a bunch of road guarantee games because Missouri in those days made most of its money through ticket sales for athletics. So the guarantee game, they played at Ohio State 9 straight years and lost 8 of those. So this philosophy extended into the 70s because even then Missouri's budget was based on ticket sales in these guarantee games. So they brought them into Columbia. They played, they went on the road and played. And so it wasn't really until Dave Hart arrived as AD and started a donor program that this kind of stopped. But if somebody tried to schedule like that today, they'd be fired. The AD would be fired.
Right. Yeah. Dennis, I asked Jim Sturk about that one time, and I used that very stat that I gave you. And unfortunately for me, Mizzou was about to play in back-to-back weeks, number 1 Alabama and number 2 Georgia. He said, you don't like playing 1 and 2 back-to-back weeks?
Right. Well, that was a function of conference play.
Yeah, right.
These were almost all non-conference games. Those of us of a certain age remember national TV to open the season 1975 at Alabama or at Birmingham Legion Field, winning 20-7 at a time when there were only 2 games on a weekend because the NCAA controlled TV, and that was a Monday night. It was Monday Night Football at Notre Dame to begin the 78 season. How about this? You play at Notre Dame to, I think this was 78, win 3-0, Joe Montana, defending champions. And then I think it was 2 weeks later at Ohio State and win 22-21. I think that was the Pete Woods game where they got the 2-point conversion. Yeah.
Dennis, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks that Missouri has everything in front of them. The road to the Final Four is in front of them. National championship possibilities is in front of them. What is the likelihood that they have an opportunity to win this game this weekend?
Well, I think it's a long shot. I was at the Georgia-Florida game and saw Georgia live for the first time this year, and they're very, very impressive. The defense, which has lost, get this, the last 3 years, Georgia's defense lost 19 draftees, 8 in the first round, and they're still really, really good. They, in a 7-minute span against Florida, Georgia had a block punt, strip sack, and outscored Florida 23-0. They just steamrolled Florida. Now they're going to be playing at home against Missouri. Carson Beck is the number 7 passer in the country. You think it's all about defense? He averages over 300 yards per game. And so it's not the superstars that you remember or the names you remember, like Stetson Bennett from the past, but they're really, really good. I expect them to play in the national championship game.
Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports with us on 101 ESPN. The other story that you and the rest of the college football watching public has been following is the sign stealing scandal at Michigan. And as you wrote the other day, Dennis, and I think it's spot on, if the president of Enron doesn't know anything about the fraud that's taking place at Enron, he's still where the buck stops. And in college football these days, the coach is where the buck stops, whether he knows about it or not, correct?
Yeah, there's this thing called the coach responsibility bylaw, which until January the language read shall be presumed to be in charge of the actions of your staff, blah blah blah. In January, that language was changed as will be responsible for the actions of your staff. Now you can mitigate that charge by saying, hey, I didn't know, or this happened, this guy was a rogue. But the charge sticks to you. It's an NCAA violation. It's just a matter of how serious it is. And right now, I just talked to someone on the phone. Jim seems to be unaware of it. Now, look, it's a bad look. The coaches are furious in that league. We've read that. The ADs are talking to Commissioner Tony Petitti about doing something. But this is a Rubik's Cube. If you try to suspend Jim Harbaugh for any amount because of this in the middle of the investigation, they'd be in court with a temporary restraining order in a heartbeat. So it's a fine line you've got to skate, but it does strike right to the integrity of the game. This is really on-field stuff. Are Michigan's results valid?
Dennis, what do you do? And could this what could the Big Ten do, NCAA do, and could this have any implications on Michigan and their playoff hopes?
Well, the NCAA process is going to take into next year. The Big Ten could step in. Last year, if you guys remember this, in the tunnel flare-up at Michigan, they suspended Michigan State players in the middle of that investigation. So there is precedent for that. Now, maybe there's a difference between players caught on film swinging helmets and gray area here, but maybe not. The NCAA is not going to get involved. Traditionally, conferences, and especially the Big Ten, doesn't get involved in the middle of it. But the coaches have told Tony Petitti, the commissioner, look, you've got to do something here, because the reports say that every team in the league but one was spied on, and people should know it's. I've got a frog. People should know that the NCAA rules say you can't scout future opponents. I didn't know that. That's been a rule for 30 years. I assumed you could send a GA over to a game with a notebook. Can't even do that. This guy apparently went to games, elaborately filmed their signs, and then disseminated them for Michigan's advantage. Not only that, an elaborate scheme around the country, to the point that you saw the picture this week of him standing on the sidelines for Central Michigan's opener against Michigan State.
Dennis, we've seen in the past, Jim Harbaugh has been talked about potentially getting some NFL jobs. We've seen in the past coaches leaving universities in shambles and going on to the NFL team and not facing any penalties. Do you think that there could possibly be a penalty for Jim Harbaugh if Michigan receives a penalty and he's no longer there?
That's a great point. There was a story on NFL.com this week that I initially missed. I found out about it yesterday, that they had unnamed sources in the NFL saying, he's not necessarily going to get to the NFL without that penalty following him, or the NFL suspending him. And there is precedent for that. Jim Tressel in the Tattoo-Gate situation, and I want to say that was 2011? When he was fired at Ohio State, was going to go to the Colts, and it was conveniently decided he would wait 5 games. It wasn't called a suspension, but that's what it was, before he joined the Colts. So according to that story, any suspension or a suspension would follow him to the NFL. Now, I've been told by legal sources that would be a problem to enforce that, because the NFL hasn't done an investigation. Right. It would be arbitrary. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think it's on the table.
Dennis, do you think that with Michigan's self-styled reputation, I will say holier than thou, can they seriously think that they can keep Jim Harbaugh with everything that's surrounding him and still maintain that reputation?
Critical, doesn't it? Because even Jim Harbaugh, I think this summer, we do things the right way, and this is in the middle of him again, in the middle of an investigation for major violations, lying to NCAA investigators about level 2 violations, ticky-tack violations of bringing in recruits during COVID. Weren't even major violations, but the cover-up is always worse than the crime. I can't remember a major college coach having parallel investigations where possibly 2 major violations are involved. I don't think Michigan can stand on that soapbox anymore. But look, can anybody? It's just that if you do look at this, Randy, without Jim Harbaugh, without Michigan, without the Big Ten, without a national championship at stake, it's relatively minor. But when you throw in those names and the fact that this guy was a paid staffer and apparently, according to reports, had this elaborate scheme of scouting all over the country, then it becomes a thing. We're to the point, like I said, where the Big Ten coaches are really, really upset.
And I would have to think that Ohio State is really chuckling.
Yeah, you better believe they're chuckling. And and someone pointed out yesterday, they're more than chuckling. Jim Harbaugh, his job was I guess he was on the hot seat at the end of 2020. During COVID, they went 2-4. And what's happened since then, Michigan's boat raced Ohio State twice, won 2 back-to-back Big Ten titles, and gone to the playoff. Coincidence or not?
Very, very valid question. Dennis, have a great weekend. What game do you have this weekend?
I am in Alabama right now for LSU Alabama.
That'll be awesome. Have a great time. We'll be reading your great work at CBSSports.com. Always great to hear your voice, and we don't mind you being at LSU Alabama tomorrow as the Blues take on the Canadians. The Blues are not yet must-see TV.
No, they're not, but at least they're not the Sharks, right?
It could be worse. It could be worse.
It could be worse.
See you, Dennis. Take care.
All right, later.
See you later. Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com, one of our favorites, a native of the area. He's from the east side, lives in Kansas City now, and does great work at CBSSports.com. Coming up next, we've got our Rush Hour Reset. Carrie won a bet last night. We'll tell you about that next on 101 ESPN.
The biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
9:03 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley is out today visiting family in Tennessee over the course of the weekend. Carrie Davis, Randy Carricker. But even though Brooke isn't in studio with us, she did pay attention to the Steelers' 2016 victory over the Titans last night. And our partner, Brooke Grimsley, is with us now here on 101 ESPN because she wanted to discuss last night's game with Carrie Davis. Good morning, Brooke. How you doing?
Good morning, guys.
Who is this on the line?
Maybe. I was hoping that maybe you guys would forget about it.
Oh, man. Well, I was looking at this rundown, and, the Steelers, what happened last night? I was so tired, I couldn't even finish the game. I was just so fatigued from work and practice. What happened, Brooke? Do you remember? Do you know what happened?
Speedy, come on. You know what happened. Don't act like you didn't stay up and watch so that you could see if you had to wear a Titans jersey or not.
I was sweating a little bit. I was a little worried. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the Titans did not win, obviously, last night. There were some chances. Now, I will say, guys, Will Levis did look pretty good. So I'm very impressed by that. But it seemed like it was still kind of the conservative offensive mindset that they've had with Ryan Tannehill. I thought they would do something a little bit different and a little frustrated with the defense there. But it was very Titans-esque. So when you guys were talking about the history of the Titans yesterday, it felt all that coming together in that moment yesterday.
Yeah, I thought Will Levis did play really well. He only threw one interception, had like 260 yards passing, no touchdowns. But for a rookie going into that environment against that defense, I thought he played really well. But that's also why I thought Pittsburgh would win, was because they had the better defense, and he is a rookie playing in only his second game. I was thrilled to see the Steelers play in the manner in which they did. And offensively, finally put some points on the board. Man, it was that first drive. You should see the sigh of relief that I had when they scored on the opening drive. What is that? What are they doing going down the field and scoring nonetheless? It was a good game by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I texted you guys, too, at the very first, Titans drive. What was it, 45 yards in penalties that they were gifted, and they had to settle for a field goal? I knew that it was going to be a long evening after that happened. But either way, congratulations, CD. And, hey, my other bet, it looks like I won't have to do the mayo and the coffee. So there's a little bit of a benefit in this for me.
They actually said on the broadcast last night that Will Levis may have been just joking when he said that he doesn't actually drink coffee with mayo. I thought that was intriguing. I don't know. We'll see what Will Levis actually does. But you don't have to drink the mayo in your coffee, but you do have to wear a Steelers. You want to wear the jersey? You can only wear it for 1 hour. You don't have to wear it the entire show. I'll give you you can your choice is a Steelers shirt. You want to wear a jersey? You pick your choice.
Okay. Does it matter? So only an hour either way if I pick one.
Yep.
It's not bad. He's giving you a pretty good deal here, Brooke.
Giving you a break.
Okay, I kind of do want to wear the jersey, and that feels special. And here's the thing: yesterday when I came here to town, my dad was listening to the show, and he had a Y-check jersey and an Eddie George jersey ready to go just in case if the Titans would have won.
Thank you, Mr. Grimsley. I greatly appreciate it. Glad I don't have to wear it, but thank you anyways.
One other thing, and this is important because last night you also texted us a delicious-looking picture of the sukiyaki that you had for dinner. What's in sukiyaki, and how was it?
Oh, the sukiyaki is a staple in the Grimsley household. So it's a traditional Japanese dish, and it's just kind of like a meat dish. So like a beef dish with clear noodles and then tofu and different things like that. And you put it over rice. It's amazing. Especially, I prefer sukiyaki over chili this time of year when it starts to get colder. So my dad made it, and it's a nice traditional Japanese dish. And I know that we're trying to get some Japanese pictures. So maybe I bring some sukiyaki back to St. Louis, and that will help.
That's a smart play. Brooke Grimsley, have a great weekend in Tennessee. You're great sports. Thanks for the time, and we'll see you Monday morning.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. That's our friend Brooke Grimsley, our partner here on the opening drive. So the Steelers and Carrie Davis come away with a victory last night. Pittsburgh, Carrie bet on the Steelers. And so CD would have had to wear some sort of Titans gear, a Y check. perhaps. Would
I would
you
have preferred the Eddie George jersey.
Okay.
I mean,
running back.
Frank Wycheck he's cool, but if Eddie George was the guy.
Yeah, he was. He had a pretty good game against Illinois one time.
He probably did.
I think he ran 40-something times for 275.
Sure. You know who had really good? Ron Dane used to tear us apart. Right before I got there, not that I would have stopped him. I played offense. I didn't have anything to do with it. I got stories from friends. They played them the year before I got there, and it was like 115 offensive plays and like 80 runs by Wisconsin. It was absurd. They were like, all right, we were done.
I'm going to find this game. Hold on here 1 second here by Eddie George. By the way, Mizzou has the college football game of the weekend. They take on number 2 Georgia tomorrow. It's the famous 2:30 slot, the 2:30 window on CBS.
Good for them. Dennis Dodd said he doesn't believe that they have much of an opportunity. Georgia is a machine. They have not lost in a few years. They have been just running through the SEC, running through any team, any team that they're playing. It's been pretty exciting to watch them play. Mizzou has a chance. If you look at based off of what they did last year when they actually should have won that game, lost 26-22, had a couple of opportunities to put more points on the board. I don't know if it's going to be that way for them this year. I think Georgia's going to be dialed in, locked in. But if Missouri doesn't turn the football over and takes advantage of some of the mistakes that Georgia may make, you may have an opportunity.
By the way, it was 1995 that Eddie George against Illinois ran up a 314-yard game.
314? Was that his Heisman year?
Yes, it was.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
You know who else we helped get in the Heisman race my sophomore year, junior year? Larry Johnson rushed for 260-something yards and had an 80-yarder call back, had like another 40-yarder call back. I'm on the sideline like, anybody, tackle the man, please.
He was a man among boys.
Oh, Larry Johnson was the real deal.
He was a stud.
Yeah, he was.
He was really good. So we don't have anybody like that in college football right now, but tomorrow you'll be able to see not only Mizzou and Georgia, but the night game is LSU and Alabama. That'll be great. You also have at that same time the Oregon-USC game. So a lot of good college football tomorrow. On Sunday, we have a great triple-header. Let me tell you about our doubleheader tomorrow. Texas and K-State is our football game, pregame at 10:30, and then the Blues and Canadians pregame at 5 tomorrow, early pregame for the Blues and the Canadians. And then the triple header on Sunday, Packers and Rams, that'll be a thriller, pregame at 11 o'clock. Raiders and by the way, you might see Brett Rippon. You might see a Jordan Love versus Brett Rippon matchup for the Packers and Rams. And then the Raiders.
No.
Yeah. And then let's step it up a notch. Raiders and Giants for the 3:25 game.
Randy.
Raiders with their first game under Antonio Pierce against the vaunted Giants.
So Anthony Stalter and I, doing our podcast, Gridiron Guys, you can check it out. We were talking about the games for this week, and I said, Anthony, this is like one of the worst set of matchups throughout the entire league this week. He's like, no, it's not that bad. Then we started running down the games. He's like, actually, it might be that bad. You got Minnesota and Atlanta. Minnesota's down a quarterback. You got Arizona and Cleveland. I don't know who the hell's starting for either team.
Both down the quarterback. Clayton Tune against...
who knows?
Is Walker still going?
I don't know if it's P.J. Walker. I don't know if it's DTR. I'm pretty sure it's not Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got the Bears in New Orleans. New Orleans, I don't know if they want to score. I don't know what they want to do offensively. Don't. You got Vegas and New York Giants.
Right here on 101 ESPN, baby.
Oh, dial in, baby. Watch it. Listen.
Be careful if you're driving around. We don't want anybody falling asleep at the wheel.
Washington and New England.
Oh, man.
It's a rough slate. But you do have Miami and Kansas City. That keeps you...
Night game, Bengals and Bills.
Night game, Bengals and Bills. And then you got the Cowboys and the Eagles, which is going to be a good game as well.
That'll be.
Yeah. So they hopefully
Eagles.
they keep it up.
EAGLES, whatever.
Yeah, the Monday night game of New York Jets and the Chargers.
Yeah. I know Joe Buck is listening.
Good luck to those
Sorry
guys.
about that, buddy. At least the World Series is over. Record low viewership for the World Series.
Why?
Joe Buck leaves.
Nobody wants to watch the Diamondbacks?
Diamondbacks or the Rangers, two traditionally moderate small national fan bases. So, record low ratings for that. But they still drew almost 10 million viewers, so it wasn't so bad. There's your Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Thanks to Brooke Grimsley for joining us. Coming up next, we're going to talk to our buddy Joe Vitale here on 101 ESPN. Well, when we had all that rain last weekend, you may have come home and noticed that there's a bunch of water coming over the middle of your gutters. It's not supposed to do that. You know, the water's supposed to go down the spout and then come out. You might have a gutter problem. That's why you need to get in touch with my friends at Gutter Pros at gutterpros.com. They are sensational at what they do. They've done more than just gutters for a long time, but they're experts at doing gutters in the St. Louis metro area. They cover an area about 50 miles from their downtown office, both Missouri and Illinois, and they'll go further if need be for your home or your business. They'll come out, provide you a free estimate, and tell you all about what they can install on your home or your business. Anything from a 5 or 6 inch residential gutter to bigger gutters for commercial use. They have a fantastic professional staff of experienced salespeople, and their support staff, when you deal with them on a daily basis, is absolutely wonderful. They're from St. Louis. Their general sales manager was born and raised in St. Louis. He knows the streets, so if you call him out, he's going to be there on time and know exactly what sort of home you have when he comes out. So you're going to love Gutter Pros. If you need new gutters or you want to replace the ones you have, go to gutterpros.com.
Joey Vitale views things a little differently. Just imagine how he looks at hockey. Whoa! This is The View from Vitale, brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
To Joe Vitale on our station, you know that he loves people, whether it's doing hits with us or being on the games. He just loves people. And last night, Joey and John Kelly and a couple of members of St. Louis City SC were over at the Ritz-Carlton for the Friends of Kids with Cancer fashion show. And Joey was so sensational with those kids. And it was really an amazing night. And one youngster in particular stole everybody's hearts. Joey V is with us now on 101 ESPN. And Joe, it was great to talk to you last night. And again, you did a fantastic job of walking the runway. You should be at the Met Gala someday.
Randy, good morning, first and foremost. You know, I can't believe they couldn't find anyone better looking than me to help out. But, you know, it was great seeing you last night, and you did a heck of a job being the MC and kind of rallying the troops at the beginning. And you know what? I've never participated in that fashion show. One of my dearest good friends, Christy Hubble, she's on the board, and she was one of the few great people that put this whole show together. It starts way back in June. They get to organize, they try to get, you know, sponsorships, they try to get the athletes, and not to mention it's just sometimes it's difficult to put together the kids that are willing and able or healthy enough. A lot of times kids have to back out of this thing, but you know, to walk the runway with the real stars of the show, the children, was just something I'll never ever forget. And it was just a wonderful night. And boy, did they raise some good money or what?
Oh man, it was tremendous. And we should point out that there was a 5-year-old, the most loquacious 5-year-old I've ever run across, named Zoe, who sang "Shine Bright bright like a diamond in its entirety.
Nice.
In her first appearance. She also took the microphone at one point and said, "Thanks for coming to my fashion show."
Yes, she gets it.
And then the last couple of times she went out, she was with Joey. She was amazing.
Oh, she was terrific. We went out in the final run together, and she said, "You want to go out?" And I said, "I'll be honest with you, Zoe. I'm a little nervous. I get a little stage fright in front of people." And then, of course, the lady she was with started laughing because she's like, "Oh my God, stop! You're on the radio. You're in front of people all the time." And I said, "Zoe, I got a secret for you. I'm really nervous. I don't think I could do this. Will you help me?" She goes, "I got you. I got you." And she just kind of grabbed my hand, and she's like, you don't need to be afraid. I'm here with you." I'm like, "Oh, my God, awesome." And
that's awesome.
You used the word loquacious. You could not have found a better word, Raina, character for that child right there, because she was certainly just an amazing spirit and an infectious one to the point where you can't be around her for more than 2 minutes and not become a better human just by being in her presence.
No doubt.
Joey, we had Robert Thomas on earlier today, and he said he has never had a cup of coffee. I'm on my second cup today. How many cups of coffee does Joey V have in a day?
I just took a sip of my cup of coffee.
Yes.
Here, I swear to you. I did, man. I love. I tell you what, Mister, I'm about 12 to 13 cups of coffee a day right now.
Wow.
I am working. Well, I shouldn't say cups. Let's not go cups. I'm talking shot. I consider a shot of espresso a serving, right?
Okay.
So if you get,
that's still a lot of shots.
If people are like, I'll get a grande Starbucks coffee with a double shot.
Okay.
You're talking like that's 2 servings just the coffee, and then you get double. That's technically 4. So that's like a 4 espresso serving technically.
Okay.
So that's what I mean when I say 12. Like I go to my favorite coffee shop here in Kirkwood. It's Taleo. It's the most amazing coffee shop. It's run by a woman named Olivia. They've been up for a few years, and I'll go in there and I get a small cup, and I always sometimes ask for 1 extra shot. So that's like 2 servings. But I tell you what, buddy, I'm like a 10 serving a day, at least 4 cups a day. Because it's like gasoline for me. It's like fuel. It's like there's no way I can get motivated in the morning without it. And my kids all know. They say this. I tell them all the time. Guys, there's only a few things Daddy loves in this world. And what are they? And they go, "We know, Dad. Pasta, coffee, and red wine." And I said, "And donuts. And don't forget my donuts." I said, "All right, donuts. All right." So they know it's important to me, and there is just something when I'm having a rough day or a rough morning, or I'm tired, or the kids are all over the map. But once I take a sip of coffee, there's just something amazing about just that first sip, and there's actually something to do with just the warmth of the coffee in general, what it does to human beings. It kind of opens them up here a little bit. So long story short, I'm drinking some now. I'll be drinking some all the way up until puck drop tonight at 7 o'clock.
What's your favorite donut spot in town?
That's a great question, Randy Carricker, and that's a tough debate. I love Strange. It's in Kirkwood, and they do a very decent job. But I think that the Donut Drive-In off Chippewa, I think that is my go-to. It's a small little shop. Have you guys ever been to that one?
I have. It's delicious.
It's amazing. It's very an unassuming place. It's nothing flashy about it. It's literally just this little hut. And we go in there. I had good memories of going there with my dad and picking up a dozen donuts as a kid. And I tell you what, there's not a bad donut in my mind, but I would say Donut Drive-In's got to be up there.
All right, Joey, I think we're contractually obligated to talk about hockey with you. So what do we need to do? What's going on?
I was hoping we could do this whole hit without me having to answer any hockey questions. I felt like, the hockey players, they come off the ice and after a game, and it's been a tough stretch for this team, and one of the things a lot of players do, the media can come in. I think it's like a 5 or 6 minutes after the last person comes in, so there's a little bit of a lag time. So these are the games where the players would come in and just strip down really quickly and just get the heck out of it. They don't want to have to answer any questions. I feel like I'm the same way. I tell you what, Garrett, it's been a tough go for the last few, I'd say. You go to that road trip and you only take 1 out of the 3 there, and then you come back and you get a little bit of a reset, Halloween reset, and you go out to Colorado and you get bumped a little bit in Colorado. So you drop the last 3 out of 4, which is certainly not good. That's the bad. The good, I was talking to Braden Shen about this after we were returning from Colorado on our flight. And he said, "What do you think, Joe?" And I said, "Honestly, you may think I'm crazy, but I don't think you guys are that far off." And he said, "I don't think we're that far off either." And then we kind of went through the game. We kind of broke it down. I mean, the Blues had 3 grade A chances right off the hop. None of them converted. Let's say 1 or 2 of those goes in. Maybe it's a completely different game. You go to the Winnipeg Jets game. I mean, you pull their goalie. Maybe a different bounce goes in, and you get fortunate. Maybe one of those two Jordan Kyrou breakaways in Winnipeg goes in, and it's a different game. My point is, yes, it may look a little grim on paper, but if you really watch this team, they're not that far off. They've had quality chances early in games. They just haven't converted yet. You got players like Braden Shen still looking for his first goal. You got Jordan Kyrou, who scored 37 last year with only one this year. It's going to come. It's going to catch, and they're very, very close, and they're getting chances. That's the most important thing. But the other thing I would say, and there's just no whim about it, and there's no confusing this, is the power play just has to improve. If you want to play a tough defending style, and you want to be patient, and you want to box it up, which is what they want to do, which is perfect. If you play that style, you're going to have limited chances 5-on-5. You're not going to go up and down the ice and score 6 goals 5-on-5. It just won't happen with the system you have. So how do you win games? You have to play tight defensively. You have to work to earn penalties, and when you get those penalties, we all know it, guys. You've got to take advantage. If you get 4 penalties tonight against these New Jersey Devils, one of those 4, you got to get a power play goal. If you get 6 penalties, maybe 2 out of 6. You got to figure out a way to keep these low-scoring games low-scoring, but you have to convert and take care of the power play in order for you to find some success and start piling up some wins.
Okay, last thing for Joe Vitale, who runs every Friday morning and was going to sleep in a little bit, but still get the run in this morning. This is I would think for a runner, this is a pretty good temperature. What's the most exhilarating temperature range for you to run in?
I tell you what, this is ideal. You're right, man. This is about ideal as it gets. I want to run where after about 20 minutes, I'm starting to sweat a little bit, but it's just cool enough where you're not completely leaking, right? I mean, that's where it's at. And you know what? As it gets colder and colder, our Friday runs, man, it's tough to get up and move it in the morning. We're showing up, and it's like 15 degrees outside, but I tell you what, that group, they're as loyal as it gets, and they're the group that pushes me out in the morning. But I will say, some nights like last night, maybe overindulged a little much. Let's just say on the liquor side of things, I wouldn't have minded a good 100-degree morning with I would have wore 2 sweatshirts just to really sweat it out.
Oh, it wouldn't have been a bad idea, but you are where you are right now. Hey, have a great weekend. Enjoy the games tonight and tomorrow night against Montreal, and we will talk to you next week, but see you before that, Joey V. Thanks.
That sounds good, Randy. Great job again last night, and Kerry, you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Joey V with us on 101 ESPN. We were talking last night. Joey's reading a book right now about how one, when they speak to somebody else, makes other people feel. And Joe Vitale is one of those guys that when you talk to him, he makes you feel like you're the most important person on earth.
Joey V, I would love to do a podcast, just an interview of Joey V, because he has so much of it. The commercial's the most interesting man in the world. Joey V could fit that bill. Like, he could be in that commercial, because you don't know, he knows everything.
Yeah,
Seems like he just, what do you go about? And I know this, and it's intriguing to hear him talk about everything. I love having him on.
I think he's the most curious person I know. And it's great. It's great. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, is there a point where the Blues should move from retool to rebuild? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, it was the Steelers over the Titans in what we are affectionately calling the TOD Bowl, as Carey's Steelers win 20-16 over Brooke Grimsley's Titans. Coming up today on 101 ESPN, the Blues are back in action. They host the New Jersey Devils at the 7 p.m. puck drop, which means you can catch the pregame show right here at 6 p.m. on 101 ESPN and 101ESPN.com. Also over the weekend, number 12 Missouri travels to face off against number 2 Georgia. That's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff. And on Sunday, it's a 4 p.m. kickoff from Kansas City as Sporting Kansas City hosts St. Louis City SC in Game 2 of their Round 1 matchup. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think, first of all, I think scoring obviously has been an issue so far this year, but you look at historically with our team, we've never really had a problem scoring. It's more so taking care of our own end. So I think that's one big positive to take out of all this is, the scoring's going to come. The chances are there. It's just not going in. And at least we're doing enough defensively to kind of keep ourselves in these games that, when the scoring comes, we're going to have success. I think that's one big positive to take all of it. And also at the same time, I think the games we won, we've played such a strong game, and we've been able to do it. And I think that's another thing. We just need that consistency of doing that every night.
As Blues forward Robert Thomas earlier in the opening drive on 101 ESPN, he thinks that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Kerry, it's interesting. The Blues have played 8 games. Mm-hmm. Every other NHL team, every other one of the other teams has played more than 8 games. So the Blues' inconsistency is still rather young. San Jose has played 10 games, and they have 1 point. Calgary has played 10 games, and they have 5 points. Edmonton has played 9 games, and they have 5 points. The Blackhawks have played 9 games. They have 6 points. The Blues have 7 in their 8 games played. And then Minnesota's a point ahead of the Blues. Nashville's a point ahead of the Blues. Both of those teams have played 10 games. So for those that have the idea, and I can't say that I have been 100% against the idea of turning this retool into a rebuild. It's pretty early to do that.
I agree with that. I think it is still early, but I think you come to a point where if the Blues, we saw what last year looked like, right? We saw the inconsistent play. We saw the win streaks, then we saw the losing streaks, and then we saw a team that when they got down maybe didn't have as much fight as you would have liked to have seen. At some point, if it continues in this manner where you're just not winning enough games, or looking good enough, you're going to have to make a decision. And I don't know what that rebuild would consist of, who would be moving along and who would be staying. I think that's a really good question that would have to be asked. I don't know if it happens this year, but maybe at the end of this year, if it's still kind of going in the same direction, you have to pose that question for the Blues.
And let's think about this a little. Let's stretch it out to the trade deadline, because that's when people make trades, okay?
Okay.
So who do the Blues have that they could send to another franchise that would help that franchise win a Stanley Cup?
That's the question.
Last year, the Rangers thought, we've added Vladimir Tarasenko. We think that we can win a cup. The Leafs, they want the final piece of the puzzle. They get Ryan O'Reilly,
right,
thinking, okay, we can win a Stanley Cup. Do you trade for Torrey Krug, thinking you can win a cup and take on the last 3 years of Krug's contract? Do you trade for Justin Falk?
Right.
Is he the last piece? I'm not suggesting any of these are even a possibility. But if you're another franchise, do you take on the last 3 or 4 years of Braden Shen's contract to take a shot at a Stanley Cup this year? The Blues don't have, I don't think, any unrestricted free agents coming up that are big money guys. So if that were the desire to turn this into a rebuild, I'm trying to think of the teams
it's
that would
be a long process.
Right. Yeah. Because who's going to go get that player and the remaining years on the contract? Part
of a trade, the anatomy of a trade is a player that another team wants. A player that plays well enough that they say, yeah, that's the missing piece. That's the guy that we want. If you have a team that isn't performing well or to the standard to be good enough here, other teams aren't just going to say, yeah, we'll take them off your hands. We know you don't want them. We'll take them. Mm-hmm. That's not how trades work, and that's not how professional sports work. So I think the Blues have enough here. I've said this for a while now. I don't know if they have the superstar player here on this roster currently, because if they were, I think Jordan Kyrou has the potential to be a superstar player. He's not. They all got to shoot more, though. They're not scoring enough goals, which is frustrating, which is obviously you don't score, you don't win. So that's part of it. But I think Jordan Kyrou can be a superstar. I think Robert Thomas has that ability. It's just we're still waiting on it to come out, and it hasn't happened yet. This team needs guys that are going to score goals, that are going to play both ends of the rink and do their job consistently, and they haven't had that yet in these 8 games.
And their most talented guy is Buchnevich, and he hasn't risen to that level yet either. Meanwhile, Joe Vitale also had a conversation about whether or not this Blues edition can be better than they've been so far.
I was talking to Braden Shen about this after we were returning from Colorado on our flight, and he said, "What do you think, Joe?" And I said, "Honestly, you may think I'm crazy, but I don't think you guys are that far off." And he said, "I don't think we're that far off either." And then we kind of went through the game. We kind of broke it down. I mean, the Blues had 3 grade A chances right off the hop. None of them converted. Let's say 1 or 2 of those goes in. Maybe it's a completely different game. You go to the Winnipeg Jets game. I mean, you pull their goalie. Maybe a different bounce goes in, and you get fortunate. Maybe one of those 2 Jordan Kyrou breakaways in Winnipeg goes in, and it's a different game. My point is, yes, it may look a little grim on paper, but if you really watch this team, they're not that far off.
So these are people that have played the sport, that are playing the sport, that don't think they're that far off, not from being a Stanley Cup champion, but from being a team capable of finishing 3rd in their division. That's why if I'm in the shoes of Doug Armstrong right now, with what we talked about, what you have to trade to try to go into a full rebuild rather than a retool, I think that's a foolish maneuver at this stage, because I don't think the Blues, A, have the assets to move that other teams would want, and B, I don't think they're that far off either.
I think my question would be the inconsistency in terms of play really well, then play poorly. Play really well, play poorly. You talk about that Flames game. They played really well, but then they go out on that Friday night against Vancouver and just lay an egg. And my question is, good teams don't have those that high or that low. They are more even keeled. They are more consistent. And then you play against the Avalanche, where you do play well, but you still lose. That to me that's the question that I have. Which team is going to show up? Is it going to be the team that gives you great effort for 3 periods, or is it going to be the team that shows up against the Vancouver Canucks and says, we had a saying that always sticks in my mind: don't let go of the rope. Right. When you're, it's like you hold on to that rope as long as you can. When you let go, you've given up. Like you're gonna fall to your death. You're not gonna make it. As long as you're holding on to the rope, anything can happen. This team needs to hold on to the rope longer than they have. Just keep holding on. Next play, if it didn't happen this play, next shift, it can happen. But if they let go of the rope, it will never happen.
And everybody needs to be accountable. You can expect a player to hold everybody accountable, but you can hold somebody accountable and they still aren't.
Yeah.
Players need to be accountable on a night-to-night basis, whether that accountability request comes from Braden Shen or Colton Parayko or Justin Falk or Robert Thomas or Craig Berube or whomever. The players, and you say this more than anybody, ultimately it's the players who have to be accountable to themselves.
And as a teammate, again, I care more about what the man next to me thinks than what the man on the bench thinks in terms of coaches, the man that is sitting there calling plays or that is, doing the game plan. I respect those guys, but I respect my teammates more. I'm not going to let my teammates down. I'm going to give everything I got because I know they are giving everything they have. And so when you have a team with that mindset, you tend to win more games, and those teams win championships. You add great players, accountable teammates, teams that are working hard and not letting go of the rope. Those are the teams that win championships.
Blues opening a 4-game homestand tonight, 6 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN as they take on the Devils. Canadians in town tomorrow for an early start, 5 o'clock pregame, 6 o'clock face-off with Curbs and Joey here on 101 ESPN. Next up, we're going to head down the stretch of this week here on the opening drive with Rocc and Roll. Stick around.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Ever since I moved here to St. Louis back in 2018, I've loved exploring my new home, and thanks to Metro, it's so much easier to do. I've lived in other cities that didn't provide public transportation, and believe me, it leads to a lot more congested traffic and makes it harder to get to events like concerts and games. But that's why I love Metro Transit. It's easy to access for everyone. It's hockey season right now, so it can take you right over to Enterprise Center and over to City Park without the hassle of parking or waiting in traffic, or even trying to find an Uber. You know how much of a hassle that can be. Metro Transit just gets you straight to the action. Even if you haven't given Metro a try yet, it's something I can promise you other places wish they had available, because there's many benefits even if you don't ride. A healthy and vibrant public transportation system helps attract businesses to come here and also creates a significant amount of jobs in the region. And of course, it helps many people get to their job. Give Metro a chance and experience the benefits for yourself. Thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
We've got a balloon party coming up. T-Mac and Ajax, followed by BK and Ferrario, and then the fast lane from 2 to 6 before Blues hockey tonight here on 101 ESPN. Don't forget, throughout the course of the day, you can watch our Air Alliance Team studio cams. Just go to YouTube and search out 101 ESPN STL and subscribe to our YouTube channel, too. It's a pretty good thing to have. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, Randy, we're going to get to the betting slip really quickly, but I needed to bring up something that happened last night, and that was the Phoenix Suns fell down by 20 points at one point to the San Antonio Spurs, and then they roared all the way back, and you're thinking, wow, a team with this kind of talent going against a team with the Spurs, not very good, a lot of young players. Surely the Suns are going to finish this one off. Well, then you're not paying attention to the fact that a giant, a unicorn, whatever you want to say, lives among us. And his name is Victor Wembanyama. And at one point, at 7'4", he faked a three-pointer, did a sidestep dribble, and then cashed a three-pointer from the top of the arc to take the lead, which the Spurs would never give up, and win the game after giving up the 20-point lead. They would beat the Suns 132-121 behind an absolutely incredible game from Victor Wembanyama. He went 15-26 from the floor for 38 points. He added 10 rebounds, two assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He became the first player since Shaquille O'Neal to notch 100 points and 10 blocks in his first 5 games. It has been since 1993 since that happened. He's absolutely unbelievable, and the NBA does not know what to do with this guy, Kerry.
He is a large human being, if you can call him that.
No, you can't. No. I don't think it should be legally allowed.
He kind of praying mantis is what I get from him. Long arms, long legs. It's like he's everywhere. I was watching him just move on defense, and it's like, how the hell do you get around him? How do you shoot over him? What do you do?
Like if a baby deer was the size of a full-grown elephant.
Okay. More giraffe.
More baby giraffe. Okay, baby giraffe. Yeah. But if he was the size of an already full-grown elephant while he was doing it.
He's a huge human being, and it's fun to watch. I don't know. Are you concerned about the Suns? I know they've had some guys injured. Booker has missed some games. I don't know if Bill has even played yet.
No.
But they are. I don't like that.
They're bad defensively right now.
That's not great.
No.
Jordan Goodwin was minus 13 last night. He was a team worst minus 13.
Not great.
He was. And they're not a good defensive team right now because Yusuf Nurkic
Are they
is
ever
a body.
going to be a good defensive team.
When KD tries, they will be.
See, whenever you say if and when, it scares me.
You were a Warriors fan when KD was on that team, and you know as well as anybody.
I know they didn't have to play defense if they didn't want to.
But even in the moments when KD decided, I'm going to try as a small ball 5, they would wreck teams. They would stop teams defensively, the Warriors were, and then they'd kill them on the other end. When KD decides that I'm not going to let Wembanyama just rip by me for an easy dunk, that'll be a different Suns team.
Are you concerned with Devin Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal and Nurkic defensively?
Yes.
As a whole?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You have to be, because Booker's never going to lock down the top 1 or 2.
Nope.
Durant again is a good defender when he wants to, but he's also 35.
And Bradley Beal is going to be the third scorer on that team, so he's going to be frustrated. I'm
you don't think he's going to channel that into defense?
Oh man,
no, shocking.
This man is a scorer. And when you put 3 stars on the team, somebody ain't getting the shots. I don't know. Maybe people don't watch history. Maybe they don't pay attention to how it all plays out.
Look at the
Chris
Heatles.
Bosh had to take a back seat.
Change his game.
Klay Thompson had to take a back seat when KD arrived. It's just part of the game. Not enough. It's only one basketball.
That team is going to wind up playing better defense. Frank Vogel always winds up with the defense.
And that's the thing. We mentioned Chris Bosh with the Heat, and we mentioned Klay Thompson with the Warriors. The reason why that worked is because Chris Bosh changed who he was, became a better three-point shooter, but also became a much more dogged defender than he had ever been in Toronto. Klay Thompson was already a good
choice.
Exactly. Klay Thompson was already a good defender before KD got there, but it just accentuated the fact that KD, if you can't score, you are our best perimeter defender. Go out and do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's not a track record for Beal to be saying you can now be a great defender even if you're not getting the offensive heft. That's not there for Beal in his history.
What about the Milwaukee Bucks?
They'll be fine.
You think?
How are you going to worry about the Bucks?
They took 2 tough losses.
I know.
They didn't look great at all.
They're going to take a minute to get used to not having Drew Holiday on defense. But other than that, they're going to be fine.
I don't like it. The Hawks and Raptors.
Did you watch Dame put up 39 in his first game? Come on. Come on now. It was ridiculous. And I need some bets from you guys here. We talked about a little bit earlier about the NFL weekend slate. There's some big games. There's some good games, and I want to focus on those ones. Seahawks at the Ravens. The Ravens are giving up 5.5 points. Is it over under of 44.5?
I still haven't seen DK Metcalf break out. I haven't seen Geno Smith have the year that he had last year. I don't think that they're going to score. The Seahawks are going to score much in Baltimore. And I think that the Ravens are still ascending. I like the Ravens to cover that 5.
I'm going Ravens as well, but I'm going to go under on the 44 points.
44.5, yeah?
Yeah, I can see it being, 28-10.
All right, I like that one.
I think that's a good score. Yeah.
Do you guys are you feeling anything out of Frankfurt, Germany? It's only a 1.5 spread.
Not
essentially, it's a pick 'em. The Chiefs are giving up the points. Dolphins getting them 50.5 over under.
I wouldn't. Those games are so hard to bet on and try to figure out. The grass might not be up to par. You're playing in a different country, different time. Everything is changed. So
if you could get me a prop on Tyreek Hill going 100 yards and a touchdown, I would take that.
I'll find that prop here in a second, because here's the other one I want to see. Also almost a pick 'em. Bills at Bengals. Bengals giving up the 1.5. Over under 49.5. Right now you can get the Buffalo Bills plus 108, and you can get the Bengals minus 126 on the money line.
We're going Bengals.
You going Bengals?
No question. I listen. I've seen enough of Josh Allen to know, and I've seen enough of Joe Burrow to know. I know Joe Burrow is going to take away what you saw the first 3 weeks. Act like it didn't happen. The man was not healthy. He's healthy now. Scratch those first 3 weeks and go forward from that point on.
I think that I'm with you. It's going to be a manic Monday for the Bills as they fall to the Bengals. Yep.
And I'm looking away from Missouri, Georgia, because I got too much heart in that one. So
it's
I'm
a 15.5 point spread.
Also,
that factor.
I don't know why.
15.5 points. Okay.
Can we take Georgia?
Fine.
Thank you.
Take Georgia.
No, I would take Mizzou
to cover.
I'm going to take Mizzou to keep it within 15.5.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
No, well, we'll be on the opposite ends of that one.
Okay.
Let's not have that one then.
Yep.
By the way, Randy, you can get Tyreek Hill minus 140 to score TD at any time in the game.
Let's go.
I like that.
All right, we'll take that one then. And then, I am going to look at the other big SEC game. LSU at Bama. Bama giving up the 3 points. It's an over-under of 61.5.
Oh, I kind of like that. I like that going over. 61.5.
Bama and LSU?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't. Bama is not offensively.
LSU has no defense.
Bama has no real offense. They aren't the Bama. They aren't. I would say under. I think it's going to be. I think. I don't know who wins that game either. Part of me wants to say LSU but Bama's defense. They're going to play. They're going to play defense.
I could see 35-31. They really haven't this year.
I don't think. You think Bama scores 35?
I think they could. I mean, look what Mizzou did with LSU.
I wouldn't trust it.
35-28 gets me there, and that's what I'm thinking.
And Alabama's not stopping Daniels.
I'm going under.
Sorry, Kerry. I think we're going to have to go against you on this one. My bad, buddy.
Mark that down that I wanted under, so we come back next Friday.
Kerry, I'll go 100% on this bet for you. You're watching Wemby. You can get the Spurs right now plus 3,600 to win their division. The best team in that division is the Mavericks. The Pelicans are also in there, and the Grizzlies, who are without Ja for 25 games, are also in there. Are you feeling something for 100 on 3,600 for the Spurs to win a bad division?
100, yeah, I'll take 100.
Who's their second best player?
Devin Vassell.
Okay.
Keldon Johnson.
Who is the? You gotta go Dallas. You would assume that Dallas is going to win the division, but for $100,
you see what I did there? I by the back door, I got Kerry to say something nice about Luka Doncic.
Well, I said they're Dallas. I mean, yeah, Dallas, Kyrie as well.
I wasn't trying to get you to say anything nice about him.
Clearly.
That's what we got, Randy.
All right, thank you, sir. And if you missed any of our interviews today, Bradley Carnell, Joe Vitale, Robert Thomas, you can hear them either on our website, 101ESPN.com, or on the 101 ESPN app, all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Should be a fun day of sports programming and a fun weekend of sports programming here on 101 ESPN. Thanks to our producer, audio engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
I don't know why I'm rushing us out of here. It's balloon party after this.
It is a balloon party.
Pleasure.
Let's hope they show up. We know Brooke would have had fun today. CD?
Show us your face. We want to see your face. Who said that? You want to see my face?
Good luck to the Hazelwood Central Hawks tonight against the Smet.
Thank you, sir.
Go get them. Come away with a victory.
Did anybody complain about your guys' cameras today?
No, they don't care about our camera.
No.
It's amazing.
We can have our hair look great.
Interesting.
No one cares about what we look like, Brandon.
No.
We can turn our cameras off, and I don't think they would even notice.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. Somebody who said, I watch every day. And I said, oh, cool. And then later in the conversation, I was talking about your beard, and they said, oh, Kerry has a beard?
There you go. See? We're not even here. We're here, but not here.
Here, but not here. Hey, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show for all of us until Monday morning at 7. Have a great weekend, St. Louis.
And now for something completely different.